Good afternoon, craft beer lovers, and welcome to the Crafty Pint Podcast's live coverage of the Gabs Hottest 100 Aussie Craft Beers of 2024. We are coming at you live from the lands of the Wurundjeri people, and we want to acknowledge the elders, the traditional custodians, wherever you might be watching from. So we pay respect to elders past, present, and future. Guys, today is the big day, the biggest day in Australian craft beer. It is countdown day for the Gabs Hottest 100. My name's Craig Williams, and I'm delighted to be playing the sparkling and effervescent host for today's show. And with me to provide expert insights, commentary, and probably more than a few random facts are two of the biggest names in beer journalism. On my left, I'd like to introduce the man himself, the founder and editor of the Crafty Pint, the Mohawk with a microphone, Mr. James Smith.
Thank you, Craig. Pleasure to be here on what's already shaping up to be the most fascinating countdown in years, I think. So, yeah, it should be pretty fun.
Fantastic. And on my right, I have multi-award-winning senior journalist, senior writer for the Crafty Pint, Mr. Will Zabel. Will.
Craig, thanks so much. It's so exciting to be here to talk about craft beer. What more could you want in life?
This is pretty exciting. We're basically three guys on a panel talking about beer. Amazing. Now, a couple of little disclosures to get out of the way first on my behalf. I have been involved in this campaign, this Hottest 100, for a long time. I was the event director of Gabs for a few years and intimately involved in the poll, and I have worked for a few breweries, particularly on the Sunshine Coast, where I now reside. So I have seen this thing from every angle, even the unflattering ones.
So is there any, it's too late for people from this year to know this, but maybe for next year, the brewers that are listening, what are your hot tips? How do you win it, Craig?
Well, Will, I'm delighted that you asked that question because I'm proud today to announce the release of my new book, Everything You Need to Know to Win the Gabs Hottest 100. But you know what? We're all friends here, so I'm just going to skip straight through to the end and let you know, here's the secret. That's right. You heard it here first, folks.
I was promised there'd be canned laughter, but that's okay. They're laughing at home.
Really falls flat on
I think I
room.
was supposed to provide the laughter. Sorry, guys.
Yes, the jokes will be this bad, but hopefully the beer banter will get better. Now, guys, where are we up to? We have already started into the countdown, of course. Guys, what can we expect from today's show, James?
Better question. What can't we expect, Craig? We've got everything you might want and more. So we're going to have some live crosses to some of the countdown parties around the country. We'll be speaking to some of the people appearing in the poll. We've got some pre-records of people talking about their favourite beers of the year, their gateway beers. I'm sure we'll be very insightful and hilarious as ever.
Fantastic. And Will, our man on the box?
Yeah. Well, I've got the terrifying job of keeping the eye on the YouTube comments, so please be polite in there. Be careful. Don't get too aggressive. There's already a lot of debate going on in there, and the numbers are ticking up as well. So we're watching that with excitement.
Jump in the chat, yeah. So jump in the chat, get in the comments. We have set this up so we want it to be as interactive as possible. We'll be reading out comments. We'll be referring to it throughout the show. So jump in there. Be as spicy as you like with your comments. We're excited.
Yeah, and we'll be seeing them coming in live as well. So if you see us sort of, hunched over our laptops at any point and crunching away, it's because we're actually, finding out the results as they come in as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, guys, we mentioned we're already quite deep into the beers. Well, the list is quite deep into the beers. We haven't touched one yet. But I want to ask you both, and we'll probably talk a lot about the entire list and what's going on there throughout the show. But just to look at the top line trends so far, or any big standouts that you've noticed, James?
I think what's been really cool, and I think a few people have commented on it as well, is just how many small breweries have made the list already, some for the first time. Bojack Brewing in Dandenong, got a beer in there. Curly Lewis, a little brew pub in Bondi, Landed a Beer, Dangerous Ales from Milton, Future Magic from East Brisbane.
Ica are pretty high up there as well. Yeah. They had a beer last year, but it's really awesome to see them do so well.
Yeah, and I think, so that's pretty cool. I mean, and we were aware that there'd been a few less breweries registered, but I still think to hit that high when you're a small, locally focused brewery is pretty cool. We've actually had some back and forth with some of them as well, so we'll have some comments from them later in the show as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Now, of course, we're coming to you with Gabs in mind. It's all about the Hottest 100. So earlier this week, I spoke with Mike Bray, Managing Director of Spectacular Events, who runs the festival and the poll. Let's hear from Mike about what he thinks of this year's campaign. Mike Bray, thank you for joining us on the show. Welcome to the podcast. Good to have you here.
Oh, Craig, it's fantastic to be with you, and what an incredible day for craft beer in Australia.
I'd love to just set the scene for our viewers, our listeners. Give us the stats, Mike. Like how many breweries, how many beers, how many votes? Give me the size and scope of this thing.
This year's been amazing. It's obviously the whole market is aware that it's been a tough couple of years for the craft beer industry. So to have a day like today, which effectively craft beer stops the nation, is such a good celebration for consumers to be able to go out there and go, hey, you know what? I voted for my favorite beers. It's a personal choice. It's my palate. It's my taste, and my vote counts. We had nearly 400 breweries in this year's poll, so it's still a really strong representation across the craft beer industry. Over 1,500 beers nominated in it as well, so it's huge. It's as huge as it's always been. Television for the first time at free to air. So Channel 9 carried the Gabs Hottest 100 TV adverts this year. So we constantly growing, evolving, reaching more and more people, and hopefully increasing the awareness of craft beer.
I agree. I think it's the biggest day in craft beer and gets more people talking about it than anything else. So, Mike, every year breweries just embrace the Hottest 100. They jump on, they campaign, they encourage their fans and their customers to vote. How would you rate kind of this season of the Gabs Hottest 100 podcast, or sorry, the Gabs Hottest 100, and any standouts in terms of campaigns and so on?
Craig, there's probably too many standouts to mention. It's political campaigning in a fun way. Yeah, craft beer is such a creative industry as it is. It's not only making the beer, but it's the marketing, the street art that goes onto the cans. And it's another creative outlet for the industry to go, well, how do we reach more and more people?
I guess for those breweries that are successful in making the list today, and what do you think that means to them, especially those smaller breweries? They've maybe got a new beer into the list for the first time. What do you think that means to them?
Craig, I mean, it's well documented that the Hottest 100 list plays a large role in retail ranging. It allows the sales teams to go in and go, you know what, we wanted that few percent that made it onto the Hottest 100 list. Our beer is being appreciated by consumers out there. If we're not ranged with you, give us a chance. So I think it's super, gratifying for those that make it not only to the Hottest 100 list, but onto the Hottest 100 new beer list, which comes out next week, onto the Hottest indie beer list. There's a fantastic representation of independent breweries across the range, and the 101 to 200 list that we released to allow breweries to see how they're coming up. And there's some really good examples, of breweries that have come onto the new list a couple of years ago and now really going deep on the Hottest 100 list.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy man today, even though people might be able to pick up that I'm not wearing the same outfit that I'm going to be wearing on the day. But Mike, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll get back to an exciting countdown.
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
At First Choice Liquor Market, we offer more choice, with over 1,000 wines in every store.
Over 70 boutique and international gins.
More than 50 single malts.
And over 140 craft beers.
Our team of experts are your first choice for friendly advice.
And we're great value with low prices across the store and online. That's why
We're your first choice.
First Choice Liquor Market.
There you go. That was Mike Bray from Spectacular, runs Gabs and the festival and the Hottest 100. And I should mention, you saw a First Choice ad in there. First Choice are the partner of the Gabs Hottest 100, and by extension, they're helping bring this podcast together. A big shout out to our studio as well. We're here in Brunswick in a venue called Stupid Old Studios. And I'm sorry, just look at this screen behind us. If anyone's a regular viewer of the Crafty Pint podcast, we've hit the fucking jackpot here, guys. Sorry, I was told not to swear, but it's just too good. On the screen behind us, we are not announcing the top 10 as we go. We've got previous champions from every year of the Hottest 100 gone by since 2008. And in front of us here, we've got last year's top 10 lined up. So we'll see, I guess, later on how many of those come through around that time.
Yeah, a few shoeies.
I want to see if we can shoot them off or something like that, but we'll wait.
So we're waiting. I think we've got the next batch of results dropping very soon, but a couple of takeouts from my interview with Mike. He mentioned that we've got around 1,500 beers in the poll and about 400 breweries, so good representation. And we've just seen those next 10 beers drop. So I'll read these out quickly and we can show you the screen as we do. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here. So in position 30, we've got Fox Friday Craft Brewery with their Hazy IPA.
Wow.
Reckless Brewing Co. with their BX Lager at 29. 28, Kaiju with their Kaiju Crush. At 27, Blackman's Juicy Banger. At 26, Hop Nation with J Juice Hazy IPA. 25, Black Hops Goat. At 24, Burley Big Head. That's a massive result for them. 23, we've got the Grifter Brewing Co. with their Pale Ale. And 22, Beer Farm Royal Haze. 21, Akasha with Freshwater Pale Ale. Will, I'm going to throw to you, mate. What's the quick takeouts? What are you seeing in that list of results?
The big news of the countdown so far is Tasmania, I think. Like, they vanished. They've been gone from the poll for, I think, 12 years. Yeah, so not a single Tasmanian brewery has made it in that amount of time. Last time it was Moo with a pale ale and a Hefeweizen, a style you're probably not too likely to see in a modern Gabs countdown. So to see Fox Friday in there, obviously they do have breweries on the mainland as well. They've got one in Melbourne and one in Perth. But that's awesome to see that, Tassie's back on the Gabs map. It's the longest drought, I think, in probably Gabs history.
Fantastic. And James, any kind of standouts in that 10
Well,
there?
I think we're seeing even more newcomers. So Reckless with their BX Lager appearing in there, just showing that smaller brewers are having some cut through. Again, there's a fair few pale ales and lagers in there, which I guess is what we've seen over the years. Just throwing back to a little bit, but not that much lower down the lineup. Bad Shepherd's Peanut Butter Porter, which has always been like a mainstay of the poll for a number of years, but normally like 98, 99. Has jumped up 43 places, which in a poll which is becoming a bit more sort of, pales and lagers sort of dominated. That's pretty remarkable. I did shoot Derek a message. He's on holiday and I wasn't even watching. And so his holiday just got a little bit better today.
Yeah.
So he's pretty excited and he's hoping he might reclaim Australia's highest rated dark beer. So we'll see.
Now, guys, we talk a lot about the Hottest 100 being a core range game now. It's such a tough competition and breweries, I think, realise that trying to get their limited release beers in there is going to be tough, so they promote their core range beers. Just as a point of curiosity, you guys both, you're in beer journalism, you're receiving beer samples all the time. What's your drinking habits look like in terms of, are you a core range guy? Are you a limited release? What's the deal there? Well, what do you go for when you're...
If you're looking for if you're looking for a 4-pack of beer or 4 beers, I'm buying a 4-pack ultimately, and it's core range beers. Like it's something you want, and you're drinking for a sort of occasion. And over a session, I would always go back to a core range drink, and maybe in pubs as well. But often I get excited when you walk into a bar or a pub and you see that new beer you've never heard of before. So it's sort of hard to, even though a pale ale you love is great, it's hard to sort of feel loyal there. And it's a conversation we have all the time that craft beer fans aren't very loyal. But the poll kind of shows that there is a lot of love, I think, potentially for gateway beers.
Yeah. I think we're probably a slightly unusual case study given we are sent so many beers. But certainly if I'm buying for, going away camping or, having people over a barbie or whatever, it'll generally be what's my favourite local core range, fresh pale ale or IPA or Pilsner, something like that, at the end of the day. Crowd pleaser, but make sure it's local, fresh, and independent would be the way we'd go, and then just top them up every now and then with non-alcs if you buy the beach for summer, or something a bit fancy, maybe tall bottle or whatever if you're treating yourself.
So core range very much has a place in everyone's sort of...
I think it always has. Ultimately, there's probably less noise around limiteds now, just in the current climate for a number of reasons. Certainly, as the 2010s went on, and then the COVID era, there was just so many, out there beers, big cans, expensive beers because of the situation we were in then. But even then, most breweries would have been relying on one or two core range beers to pay the bills. Just the way it is. Apart from a tiny handful of breweries that sort of can and build a business on wild stuff.
I find myself, I think I've come full circle. So I probably started, you all have your origin beer, your gateway beer. You then start to go down this huge rabbit hole of limiteds and wild and wacky and so on. And you want to learn and grow and challenge your palate and so on. But I think as more and more I've kind of swung back the other way to, if I've got a really good pale ale that I know and love, I'm going to grab that every time. It's
you evolve to become a Gers nerd, and then it's back to pales and pilsners.
Yeah, when you want something you trust, you know you're going to get a good product.
Yeah.
Guys, building on that discussion, let's talk about I guess the marketing that goes on around the Hottest 100. It'd be good to talk to one of the breweries that I guess has been quite active in that space. And Will, I think you've got something set up for us. You had a chat with the team at Hop Nation.
Early in the week, I sat down with Sam Hamber, co-founder of Hop Nation. I was really interested this year because Rattenhund has done quite well for them over previous years. It's sort of jumped up over the last 2 years. And then now this year they're pushing J Juice. So I was just interested to know, when you've got this beer that's kind of climbing in the poll, while you'd switch it, and Sam talks quite openly about how it is a core range game. You've kind of got to pick a favourite child, and so we go into that. And also the other thing I loved about their campaign was seeing all the street posters around. We can focus on what's people posting on Instagram, but there's a much more old school way to get the word out about your beer.
Let's go to the chat.
Sam, thank you for joining us for the Gabs live stream.
Hey, Will. Good to be here. Yeah, exciting time of the year.
It is always exciting time for beer. Now, one of the things that interests me about Hop Nation this year is you've really focused hard on J Juice, and that's off the back of, I think, several years where Rattenhund, your fantastic lager, has been something you've pushed a lot. And, if I can rattle it off, last year, the Rattenhund was 51, year before it was 78. So it has also been sort of shooting up the poll maybe a little bit. So do you want to tell us why you decided to focus on a different beer this time around?
So this year we did decide to focus on J Juice. As you said, the last, I think, 3 years, we've kind of given Rattenhund a push as it's been new to market. This year, we saw some natural growth or organic growth in J Juice over the last 12 months, potentially for a few different reasons. But, and then, we had a bit of a marketing plan and campaign booked in for December. And as we were developing that out, we thought, why don't we just kind of tag it along with the Gabs Hottest 100 as well? So that was partly the reason. And otherwise, it's kind of, J Juice is its 8th season now, so and it's kind of picked back up. We kind of look at a few reasons, but December's always the month for J Juice, as people kind of spend a little bit more in that Christmas period. So we kind of started rolling it out, and then it kind of turned into the Gabs kind of campaign as well. So Rattenhund's definitely still a brewery favourite. The way that the game works, you kind of have to pick one child to push to the front of the line.
Yeah, well, do you think Rattenhund's sort of popularity could harm you a little bit? Because I imagine there's plenty of Hop Nation fans who might still want to vote for that beer, and maybe they'll vote for J Juice as well, but lower down or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned, the way it's set up, if your votes are spread, there's probably a certain amount of people that like your beers and want to vote. And as it spreads, it dilutes it a little bit. But, we look at it, the last few years, we've had, 4 or 5 in the top 200, which, from a brand point of view, we're not, we look at it as a good thing, rather than kind of riding on one beer to hold a brand up, which also has its pros and cons. But, we kind of back the range and, appreciate that people like different styles, and as long as they're voting for us, that's a win. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. The other thing I really noticed was your campaign. You I saw a lot of street posters around my part of Melbourne, which is the inner north, where street posters are sort of on every single corner. And, you know, there's obviously many ways you can do it. And I saw some social media posts as well, but that more physical campaign, what was sort of driving that?
I guess part of the whole, campaign and the different touch points for marketing generally for the J Juice in December. The street posters, it's an old one, but it's definitely a way to reach the people. They do a great job of getting it out there, and we did stick a QR code on it this year, linked to the Gabs Hottest 100. Whether or not that scan rate wasn't great, but it's just another reminder to if people are thinking about it or it's on their agenda. And then the tap room, we just the staff were talking about it, had a couple of posters up, backed in with I guess the social media side of it, just some general social media through the usual platforms. So I guess we look at it as a multi-pronged approach to the just giving that J Juice a reminder to everyone, talking about it, getting people excited coming into like the period where people are happy to spend a little bit more on a 4-pack and and enjoy it. So I think the main goal was just J Juice generally, but Gabs is another part of it, and it's that time of year when everyone's talking about beer again and styles and brands, and it'd be interesting to see how it goes, and if Rattenhood beats it, then we know that our marketing's not very good, and can save some money. I don't know.
And how do you hope it'll fare? Any sort of desires? Where do you want to see it, other than number one, of course?
We'll see. If it gets in the top 30, we'll be pretty happy. We've got a little side bet system going at work, so I think the winner gets something. Everyone's having a punt, but we'll see. I mean, if it's up again, then it's great to see a beer that's this long in market that's still doing its thing, which is great. But it's not going to be number one. But if we can get up in that top section, we're pretty happy.
I tell you what, he's going to be happy because J Juice just came through in that last bracket, so a fantastic result. And turns out their marketing does work. So
they've got to keep spending money on it.
Keep spending money, Hop Nation. That's money well spent. Now, guys, I think we just talked about and some of the things that I think Sam was mentioning as well. There is a lot of value in that core range and that gateway beer, the beer that got you into it. So we're going to explore that a little bit through the show today to get an idea of just some of the beers that got people into craft beer. We talked to a few people around the industry for their insights. Let's have a look.
Hello, Grace here from Reckless Brewing, coming to you from Mount Panorama in Bathurst, Wiradjuri land. Just want to talk to you guys about my gateway beer into craft beer. I was working at the Sussex Hotel in Sydney. We had one rotating craft beer tap, and a almost permanent feature was the Lord Nelson 3 sheets. It was as exciting to me as driving this racetrack is right now. Just amazing, really well made beer, lots of very tasty hops, just something that was completely different to, the jugs of beer that I'd been used to during my uni days. $10 jugs at Manning Bar at Sydney Uni. Amazingly, the first brewery that I actually worked at, I made the 3 sheets pale ale as well for them, so that was pretty cool. And it all kind of came full circle, but so big shout out to Lord Nelson and their 3 sheets pale that's still around today and still absolutely delicious. Cheers.
Hey, I'm Guy Southern, and my gateway beer is Ferrell's Hop Hog. In the 90s, I remember drinking Dog Bolter at the Sail and Anchor and later Little Creatures Pale Ale. But when Hop Hog arrived, it really felt like something new was here. Hop Hog and Ferrell for that matter. Bold use of US hops, the adventure of going out to the Swan Valley and drinking it out of glassware like this, Just felt really like a moment in time. Something was shifting, things were changing, and I know it's inspired a lot of other people as well. So cheers, well done Brendan, well done Will.
Grace and Guy there for their Gateway beers. Now, right now, across the country, there are Hottest 100 countdown parties going on. People enjoying Australian beer, celebrating what's great about the industry. So we're going to cross to one of them live now. We're going to head to Brumanity at their new pub in South Melbourne. Over to you guys. Oh, they're just getting their camera fixed, I think.
Yeah.
Can you hear us, Jamie?
Jamie, can you hear us? Jamie, well, that was looking pretty good for a second there.
I think it was interesting going back to those two Gateway beers while we wait to connect with them, is that both of those Gateway beers are... One's still in the countdown, and one's made its comeback. So
there we go. Jamie, can you hear us now? Jamie, it's great to chat. Interestingly, these guys have actually just had their first beer appear in the Hottest 100 as well. We saw Mouth of Melbourne, which at 65. What's that? Tell me more about that beer.
Yeah, Will?
Yeah, so there was a version called Mouth of the South in celebration of their awesome brew pub launching in South Melbourne, and then they secured a partnership with the Melbourne Football Club, of course, which David Neitz, one of the founders, was a former captain of. So in tribute to that, they brewed a special beer for the football club. Obviously, it's been pretty popular for them.
Yeah, and with some fun little footy references on the cans as well. But yes, I mean, it's one of those many smaller breweries that's hit the poll so far, including Grace as well. I don't think Reckless had appeared in the poll, the second winning last year, and so their BX Lager coming in at where were
29.
we? 29 is a pretty amazing debut. And I think she really went all out there with her video going around the track at Bathurst.
I asked her to film a short, fun video, and she was like, it might take me a few days, and that's what I got.
She delivered. There you go.
Yeah, cool.
She wasn't driving, though, was she? Let's just be clear on that.
No.
It's in the passenger seat. While we wait to get Brumanity on the line, we'll see if they can make it. Guys, talk me through, you mentioned BX, we've talked about Brumanity. I did see, was it Bojack Brewing right at the start of the list in 100 as well? Where are they from?
So Brewpub down in Dandenong. I guess ever since they started out, they've been doing, I guess, what a lot of the industry has sort of moved towards over the last few years with the changed economic landscape. Small family-run brewpub. It's actually the name is a sort of melange of their sons' names. Just servicing the local community. A lot of limited release beers going out. Just have really forged a great spirit there. In fact,
making really good hazy IPAs as well. It's sort of not as well known as probably some Melbourne breweries, but they're doing it really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I actually got some word from the founders, Dale and Sue, said a huge thank you to everyone who voted and showed their support. We know Calypso's a delicious beer, and it's so humbling to see it recognised by those who enjoy it. We're super wrapped and proud to have got into the top 100 of the Gabs 2024 Hottest 100. So
that is very cool, and it's very heartwarming to see a small brewery like that, where you really can harness the audience, the community that you've got behind you, and still making it to the top 100 beers. You're talking, I think it was 1,500 beers or so that Mike had mentioned in the poll. So it's a very small percentage that actually make it in that top 100. Now, I'm told that we are okay with the cross now for Brumanity. So welcome Neitz and David and Foxy.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hey, we got you. Great.
Congratulations.
Nita's Commodore 64 couldn't handle the upgrades there with Zoom.
He needs to get a Commodore 65 in recognition of your placement. Oh, that was terrible.
Congratulations, guys. How do you feel? Obviously a great showing for Mouth of Melbourne, but is it your first time in the Hottest 100 as well? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
No, it's been fantastic to... we've sort of watched it from afar, really, for a long time. To now finally having a venue and have a bit of an audience and gain some fans and whatnot. It's pretty heartwarming, I've got to say, to make the list after being around for sort of on the outskirts for about 10 years. And this year, really good result with the brewery. And this is just a fantastic way to start 2025.
How did it go down when the beer was announced? 65 in the brew pub. Was there a bit of a cheer? Free beers on you guys?
There was a big roar led by us, and then I think everyone said, "What the fuck's going on? We better be on the grill." But yeah, we got you boys on the big screen. You're on the YouTube channel here, so got a decent brew.
There we go. Hello, everybody.
What a beautiful place to enjoy a countdown.
There's not too many breweries on the south side of Melbourne, so to represent, we've got a few different craft brewery T-shirts rolling around and things like that. So it's kind of nice to be representing and having this party over here, representing the south side of Melbourne.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, well, I'm sure you're going to enjoy the rest of the day. And congratulations again, and we'll see how you roll in 2025.
Yeah, lovely guys. Many thanks. Cheers.
Congrats, team. That's a huge achievement.
Cheers, guys. And look, just as we finish that conversation with Brewmanity, like we planned it, Gabs Festival has announced the next 10 beers in the Hottest 100. So I'll read those through as we go. So number 20, we have Hawker's Beer with their West Coast IPA. Big story in the news about them this week. At 19, we have Seeker Brewing with Mystic.
Wow.
At 18...
That's massive, yeah.
That's massive, yeah. 18, we've got Bright Brewery with their Alpine Lager. At 17, Capital Brewing Co. with Coast Ale. At 16, Rocky Ridge Brewing Co. with Gin Dong Juicy. At 15, Pirate Life Brewing with South Coast Pale Ale. I believe that's one of the previous top 10, if I'm not mistaken, in 15. And we've got one of my local faves, Black Flag Brewing at number 14 with Rage Juicy Pale. And wow, number 13, Stone and Wood Pacific Ale. A big result there. Number 12, Young Henry's Newtowner. And at 11, Bridge Road Brewers Beechworth Pale Ale. Guys, some really interesting results. We've got a couple of the beers that are currently sitting in front of us in that 11 to 20 bracket.
I'm gonna that gun to shoot them off.
I'm going to throw to James. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, I think it's something that's been talked about amongst us, but I guess online and by other people beforehand. There has been less campaigning by some breweries, and including some of those bigger breweries at the top. I mean, Stone and Wood would be one of those. At the same time, a lot of the focus within Stone and Wood is on that one beer.
Yeah.
And I think there's been less even from the likes of Bolter this year. So, I mean, Stone and Wood Pacific Ale remains the only 4-time winner. So it's still a Hottest 100 classic. But I think it's worth highlighting as well. Seeker. We're big fans of Seeker, Will and I. We don't see enough of their beers, but small music loving. They host a lot of live music at their venue in Wollongong. Their pale, their sort of hazies, their pales, their IPAs are fantastic beers. So massive congratulations to them.
Some big fans in the comments as well of Seeker too. A few people gunning for them earlier on, so it's great. People are very happy.
Fantastic.
And I guess we should throw them back at you. So Craig, Black Flag. Up at 14.
Yeah, up 14 positions from last year. I do a bit of work with the boys up there and the team.
You know how to jimmy the system.
They had an advanced copy of the book, obviously, and it's definitely come through. So 14 positions up there. The Sunshine Coast is a real hub of craft beer, and I think that's probably, we've still got maybe a few to come.
So one brewery we haven't seen yet is, at least Range Disco, I don't think has been in, and that did really well last year, and they put a really big push behind it, which is why I actually spoke to them earlier in the day, earlier in the week, sorry. So, Craig.
Fantastic. We're actually going to go to a little section we've got with Range Brewing. Let's
Matt and Isla.
No, we've gone to the wrong one, so we're really nailing it here, guys. And not even consuming beer yet ourselves. We've got another little couple of the gateway beers from around the industry. Let's check it out.
Hi, it's celebrated foot model and member of the Kaiju team, Chloe here, and here are my gateway beers. Number 1 is the Sunset Ale from Two Birds Brewing. I remember having this when I was freshly 18 at my local RSL and thinking, that is art, that is incredible. Obviously the messaging behind the brewery of Two Birds as well quite dramatically changed my life. The second beer is a Bitburger Pilsner. I remember having this at a train station in Cologne, my first time when I was backpacking around Europe. and thinking, if Two Birds tastes like art, this is what the Mona Lisa would taste like. It is clean, crisp, and utter perfection. If you ever get a chance to have Bitburger from Tap in Germany, take it. Obviously, that kickstarted my lifelong love of lagers, so...
My gateway beer is Pernicious Weed by Garage Project. I had it for the first time while working behind the bar at the Gilbert Street Hotel. I, at the time, had never even heard of an IPA or Garage Project, but we had a tap takeover and I sampled all the beers, and Pernicious Weed definitely stood out above the rest. Not only the flavour of the beer, but the artwork of all the decals was definitely a light bulb moment for me.
Pernicious Weed as your first gateway beer. That's why your Radler. Your Radler. Now, we previewed it earlier, but we want to talk about what getting a place in the Hottest 100 means, particularly to a smaller brewery. Earlier this week, Will spoke with Matt Nyla from Range Brewing. Over that.
Matt Nyla, thank you for joining us for the GAD's Hottest 100 countdown.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, Will.
Yes, great. Now, we want to talk about Disco. So tell us about it. You know, obviously it's a beer that this year, and I think the previous year, you have sort of put a bit of a push behind it. How come?
Yeah, we've put a bit of a push behind it this year. It's the second full year in 2024 that Disco has had, out in the wild, and we think people have really started to latch onto it and really started to love it even more than what they already had. And from our side of things, we've dialed in some processes and some techniques, and our hop selections have been really, really good for the last couple of years. So we're really happy with where the beer is at, and it seems like people are too by the way that it's been selling. So yeah, we wanted to put a little push behind it this year, and hopefully we can see it do well.
Cool. And last year it was 16. I know there's going to be a lot of Range fans listening, and people do love the brewery, but you are still a very small brewery, really, compared to a lot of the other ones that make it into that higher end. Like, what does it mean to you as a small brewery to get towards, I guess, the pointier end of the countdown?
Yeah, I think it's huge for us, really. Like you said, when you look at some of the breweries that are just below us or above us in the countdown, and you think about how much beer they produce and how much beer they sell and where they sell it, and you compare that to the humble little Disco can, it really is quite incredible how high it got last year at number 16. And so we're really wrapped with that, and we're hoping this year that we'll improve on that number 16, and maybe jump up a spot or two, but we'll see how we go. Like I said, it's such a small production volume compared to some of the big guys that are above us, but small but mighty, we say.
Yeah.
Cool. And Isla, maybe this is more your territory, but in terms of actually getting the word out, I've seen a bit of disco activity this year. Pretty sure I saw a big inflatable can. I don't know if it was Gabs related, but I saw a billboard as well. Like how do you go getting the word out these days, particularly when you got the venues as well?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we sort of saw this, I guess, season of marketing in Gabs and summer as our opportunity just to sort of step into the ring as, someone to watch out for, and Disco in particular, everything from the name, the design, the style of beer, it all just really represents, I guess, us as a brewery, us as a team, and it really resonates with just a massive range of people. I've got best friends that love it. My grandfather, who's a farmer, loves it. It's just the variety and the range of drinkers that it connects with. It's crazy. So I guess we just wanted to lean into that and make as much noise in a small amount of time as possible. So we did some billboards. They weren't necessarily, linked to Disco in particular, but I guess the themes that we wanted to sort of touch on. We are very much an event sort of focused brewery and brand. So all our venues, from Range to our neighborhood bars, we really just sort of, we wanted to highlight Disco for it being a main sort of beer to drink at those events, but then also just, just putting that inflatable Disco in front of them and reaching as many eyes as possible. So, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And one other thing about the poll is, I guess over many years, it has become more of a core range sort of area. People really do focus in on one beers like you have. But last year, Disco wasn't the only beer that Range had in there. There were some limiteds that popular, I'm sure, but probably you didn't sell that many. Like, what do you account for that as a brewery that people are still honing in on? I guess some of the, you're releasing a lot of new beers a year. People are really linked to some of those, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And I think it's just a testament to, the amount of effort and focus that we've put into continuously exploring, with new beer recipes and new hop styles and finding the ones that people like and sort of drilling down on those styles and those like recipe ideas, I guess. And I think as well, it's realizing, when we hit a nerve with people and trying to exploit that a little bit or bring it back, year on year for them. And that's what we've seen with some of the limited release beers that have been in the last couple of years for us, is that those are beers that we really only make once a year and one very small batch with about 150 cases that gets in there. So I think people, it just goes to show that, it is very much a core range countdown, but there is still that desire out there for people to drink big, exciting beers and try something a little bit out of the ordinary, and people still love it.
Yeah, and I think as well something to know, like whether it's Disco or one of our limiteds, like I think it doesn't matter where on the leaderboard it gets or what gets on there. I think it's just like we all feel so proud that our name is even in like a top 100 or top 200. There's a lot of moving parts at Range and to make these limited releases in Disco and Forever Range. So I think it's always just a really nice moment for our team just to like reflect and just give ourselves a pat on the back no matter what happens. So it doesn't really matter if it's Disco or limited. I think it's just like, it's a huge achievement to even get into this list.
Cool. And do you want to predict where you think Disco might end up, or where do you hope to see it?
Well, I don't think it'll get number one. I think we've all got a pretty good idea about which mountain brewery might get into number one. No, I don't want to say anything. Like, look, we were absolutely stoked with where we ended up at last year, and we truly didn't expect to be that high in the countdown. So.
I think for us, like our focus is just like, having fun, like pushing Disco, but just, like as long as, this whole thing is supporting independent breweries and just like the idea and the joy and what comes with the craft beer industry, like I think it doesn't really matter. Like, we have fun like every year, and then especially during this time in summer. So it's just like, it's a fun time to guess and to be a part of the whole experience.
But we're definitely hoping to win.
Great chat with the team at Range there, mate. And I don't think we have seen Disco drop yet, or we?
I think they're going to be very happy with today, I would imagine.
Or devastated.
Either they're going to be very happy or very, very sad. But they have had other beers appear, so you would expect it to turn up at some point.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Will, anything in the chat? What are we seeing on the YouTube so far?
And it's sort of tying into that. I mean, a lot of people, it's going to be a very different top 10, ultimately. I mean, you've seen Bridge Road drop out, Stone and Wood, Young Henry's. These are all breweries that have sort of been in and around it quite a bit.
There's 100 lifers.
Yeah, well, definitely Bridge Road. So, that's a lot of people are sort of looking into that or talking about that. Like, it will look quite different. Maybe
I guess if we said, if we haven't seen Range Disco so far, then it's going to be a top 10 beer.
You would think so, yeah. That logic detects that, or people hate them suddenly, which I don't really think is Range's story. Yeah.
And I guess let's talk about that one for a second. Like you mentioned, a few dropping out of the top 10. We've got in 11, 12, and 13. You've got Beechworth Beachy Pale. You've got Young Henry's Newtowner. And Stone and Wood Pacific Ale. I mean, all three of those beers were in the top 10 last year, as well as Pirate Life, South Coast Pale Ale. So, anything behind those guys? Like, what are you seeing on Stone and Wood's front, for example?
Yeah, well, I think, it could be maybe a lesser push, but also you have found over the years, I guess, longer term with the poll, that often when brands have sold, they have tended to sort of drop down the rankings a little bit afterwards. So it could be something to do with that.
It takes
in the case
time
that
often. Like they might still have a bit of buzz, but they do sort of fade generally as a rule.
Yeah.
Like Feral Hop Hog is back in now. It's independent again.
Yeah. And I think, also maybe a bit of a changing of the guard this year. I mean, we're really interesting to see with so many previous top 10 beers not in the top 10, who's going to fill the gaps, So I think it's going to be, pretty damn interesting over the next hour and a half.
Yeah, fantastic. Stone and Wood were obviously, they've won the Gabs Hottest 100, I think a record 4 times now. They're the overall record holder. They've never won a three-peat though, which of course is what we're seeing Mountain Culture pushing for, and it was the heart and soul of their campaign.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think it's going to happen? Are we brave enough to make a comment, or do we just plead the fifth on that?
I think that's what most people are expecting for sure. Number 10 has just dropped, Craig, and it's. I think you might want to turn your attention to this. It's quite remarkable.
It is a fascinating beer to be at number 10.
Come on, computer.
All right. It's the first double-fruited smoothie sour to make the top 10. Let's just say that it's One Drop We Jammin', which is it's sort of.
Well, there we go.
It's one of One Drop's killer beers out of the many wild and wonderful experiments they do. But it's up 30 into the top 10. So I think in previous years we've had top 10s that have been pretty much wall-to-wall pale ales, summer ales, Pacific Ale, hazy, whatever IPAs. So Nick and the team at One Drop and Clay and Meg, that is awesome. I won't swear. You've been swearing. I'm going to try and not have a potty mouth today. But that is effing awesome.
They're going to be stoked. They have been pushing it hard. Obviously, they know that it's a much loved beer, and obviously their fans love that they make unusual beers like this. So they can talk to them and say, let's vote for this beer, let's go for it, let's do it.
Yeah.
And they've done better than they ever have before, which is awesome.
Yeah. And I think, with the, we mentioned before the Bad Shepherd Peanut Butter Porter, with that jumping up as well, this definitely is the most different and interesting Hottest 100 I've seen in a number of years. It's the biggest change in so many ways,
Well, let's see if this trend is reflected in retail. We're going to go and talk to Nick McArdle, who's the head of beer from First Choice Liquor Market. Over to Nick. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show.
G'day, Craig. It's awesome to be here, mate. Thanks for having me on the show.
Mate, you are the head of beer for First Choice Liquor Market. Give us the job in a nutshell. What does that kind of entail day to day?
Yeah, so I think head of beer, probably the best job you could ask for in the world, I'd say, for First Choice. So very lucky to lead a team of buyers that manage the end-to-end process for all our beer within First Choice. Basically, that means dealing with suppliers across all of Australia. Got a buying team that manage that conversation and work through pricing, promotions, the ranging that goes into our First Choice stores, and then basically just to the crux of it, just having stock on our shelves to get to customers at a great price and having the right range that they can come in and shop. So pretty lucky to be in this role, and it's a great fun role, and I really love dealing with the great industry that we work in.
Yeah, nice, mate. And I'd imagine, head of beer, First Choice, you've got a wide range of stores out there and probably a lot of data coming through. I think what would be of interest is, what are the kind of trends that you're seeing in craft beer the last kind of 12 months and consumer behavior and beer styles?
Yeah.
And what's going on out there on the front lines?
Yeah, it's well documented around craft beer, and it's been a bit of a challenging environment over the last 12 months, but pleasingly, we've seen a bit of a resurgence in craft, especially over the last 6 months. I think about 12, 18 months ago, customers were definitely shifting back into more mainstream brands, mainstream craft brands. But over the last 6 months, we are seeing that come back as, consumer confidence is growing. So we are seeing people shift back into more of those easy drinking craft styles. So your lagers and pilsners are starting to come to the fore. Hazy ales, hazy pale ales are still playing a pretty significant role. But yeah, people are shifting back into that, and I guess local still is a significant part of that, but it is more that state-based local. So you've got those state-based heroes across the craft beer industry that are seeing some strong growth and still performing really strongly. So I think the craft beer industry is in a good space and navigated some of the challenging times over the last 12 months, and it feels like there's some good momentum heading into the new calendar year. that can hopefully see that growth continue in the right ways.
That's awesome, Nick, and I think it's probably something that a lot of our listeners wanted to hear. So good to know. Mate, talk to me about the idea of kind of range planning and range reviews. Like, how regularly is First Choice, looking at its range, what its offering is to customers, and how do things like the Gabs Hottest 100 craft beers play into that decision making?
I mean, we're always looking at our range. Got the craft beer team are constantly looking at what is the new innovation coming through, whether it's new trends and styles or new breweries that are coming into the market. We're always looking at it. We run a process called a range review process, which we do every 12 months within First Choice. And that's basically doing a full review of our range. And that's where you might open up on new trends or open up into new areas that you're trying to explore and make some fundamental shifts to your category. But we also are constantly reviewing our range and offer. And if there's opportunities to bring, the new and exciting innovation in or NPD in, we're constantly reviewing that, and gives us the opportunity to do that all year round to ensure that we remain, relevant as a retailer. Things like Gabs and Hottest 100 play a massive role in that. So last year, I believe we had around 90% of the Gabs Hottest 100s we did range within First Choice Liquor Market, which is brilliant. So we just want to make sure that when we do get the results and hear them later today, that there we do have those SKUs ranged, and we have the great offering out there that we know that all the craft customers and our customers are coming in to search for. So if we don't have those SKUs in, then we'll probably struggle to maintain those customers. So we really look at Gabs closely and ensure we have that right range in the right stores in the right states to give that offering to our customers.
Well, thank you for those insights. And mate, before we leave you, just what was your favourite beer of 2024?
To be honest, I'll drink anything. I'll drink anything that's cold, especially on a nice summer's day, which we've been pretty lucky down in Melbourne. But I'll probably a bit more traditional in the Bolter space. So I love the Bolter Easy Hazy. But also I love the work that the guys at Capital in Canberra are doing. So their Coast Pale Ale is probably one of my favourites, which is regularly in the fridge at the moment, but getting a bit long in the tooth. So some of that lower ABV, the Bolter Easy Hazy is definitely the drink of choice at the moment.
Yeah, nice one, mate. Well, enjoy the rest of the countdown, and thank you so much for joining us. Nick McArdle, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig. Thanks for having me, mate.
Thanks, Nick. And I want to go back now. I want to take us on a little a nostalgia trip back to 2010 when a young and earnest cub reporter, James Smith, founded the Crafty Pint.
Semi-young.
Just top 10 in that year, James, to bring you back. Number 1 was Vale Ale, 2 Little Creatures Pale, 3 Stone and Wood, Pacific Ale, 4 Feral Hop Hog, 5 Cooinda Pale, Matilda Bay Fat Yak, White Rabbit Dark Ale, James Squire the Chancer, Vale Dry, and Hawthorn Pale Ale. Mate, what memories does that trigger? Take me back to that bygone era.
Yeah, no, I had a look at the list, obviously, before coming on today. I think there's 10 breweries or brands in the 100 that no longer exist.
Wow.
A number of those have changed hands or changed structure over the years. Back in the 2008, 9 and 10, Murray's had 8 beers in the poll every year, and there were similar numbers to the likes of Holgate, Mountain Goat, I think Feral. There were these breweries that were, less people voting, less breweries out there. So obviously
it would be their whole range kind of, or their most interesting beers from pale to sort of farmhouse barrel ale.
Yeah, but what was interesting, the top 6 beers were all pale ales, even though Hop Hog was called an IPA back then. But there was more dark beers, there was saisons, there was imperial IPAs, imperial stouts. Bit of context as well, the Crafty Pint had just launched a few months earlier. Brews News, which did this live stream in previous years, had launched a few months before that. 2 weeks after the countdown, Gabs, so the local tap house held their first ever Gabs, just with 20 beers at the local tap house. A week after that, I was approached by 2 guys, Miro and Barney, who'd been chatting to the brothers from Bintani for a conversation that led to Good Beer Week. So there was looking back, it was this crazy little time where all these sort of things started happening. And then within sort of 16 months of that poll, the second Good Beer Week took place, and Gabs had already moved to the Royal Exhibition Building. So it was an insane time, and certainly it's a fun little snapshot to sort of see, the sort of beers that were in there. a lot more beers. You see one or two like that now, but it was very, very colourful. But again, less breweries, less beers, and probably a few hundred or a few thousand people voting at most.
Yeah, wow.
It would have been controversial, though, definitely. When you think about those beers, James Squire, I'm sure people were as outraged as they sort of are now when it's more corporate breweries. Maybe.
Yeah, well, Hahn Premium was in the first one back in 2008, but they're pretty struggling to find 100 beers back in 2008.
No, fair enough. And Vale Ale winning that one, first ever beer to go straight to number one.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a story there with those guys as well, isn't there?
I think that definitely probably caused the first sort of big Hottest 100 furore, but I think it was essentially that they pushed to their mailing list. They pushed it. They asked people to vote, and it worked. And I think at that time you would have needed far less votes to win. But it was the same. I guess it was one of the earlier examples of a brewery actually going, well, we're trying to push into more bars and bottle shops. So why wouldn't we try this? And certainly would have been earlier than when getting top three or whatever probably had a massive impact in terms of marketing. But then again, the industry was smaller as well. Yeah,
fantastic. And James, while you're speaking, we've just had the beer number 9 drop. Coming in at number 9, Four Pines Brewing Co. with their Japanese-style lager.
Yeah, well,
Will, any kind of thoughts and feelings on that one? Four Pines Japanese lager.
Well, it's a massive jump. It's up 64 places, and other Four Pines beers have obviously done quite well in the past. This probably, you might say, looks to be maybe one of the beers they really put their sort of marketing nous behind, and it has picked up some awards previously as well. I think at Sydney Royal. I'm sure.
I think
outraged the comments as well.
I think the big multinational owned craft brands, they kind of have a beer they want to get behind, and that would be the beer that Four Pines will be pushing. That's become their flagship as opposed to their pale or their Kolsch in previous years. So I'm sure whoever's responsible for brand management at Four Pines will be, enjoying a couple of Japanese lagers right about now.
Well, congratulations to Four Pines. Now, guys, I want to talk to about one of the absolute stayers of the Gabs Hottest 100. The only independent beer, in fact, to have been in every single edition of the list since its inception in 2008, and that beer is Beechworth Pale Ale. Now, just
number 11 this year.
Number 11 this year, correct. It's been in every single edition of the poll. It first entered the top 10 in 2014. Its highest result was number 5, both last year in 2023 and 5 years ago in 2018 poll. Will had a great chat with Bridge Road founder Ben Krause. Let's hear what he has to say.
Ben Krause, thanks for joining us on the live stream.
Yeah, no problem, Will. Nice to be here.
Yes. Now, Beechworth Pale Ale, it's the only independent beer that's been in the poll every year since its start in 2008. I'm pretty sure the only other beer that's been there for the whole ride is Little Creatures Pale Ale. Do you have any thoughts on why it's stuck around like that?
It's probably a combination of factors. One being that we're still independent, and some of the other brands they probably haven't been in there as long, but there are many brands or beers that have been there a while that are no longer independent. So that's one reason that gives us the stat. It's a pretty consistent beer and consistent story, although the beer has evolved over all those years and it continues to evolve. I think we maintain consistency in terms of what our brand stands for and what our brand offers and what people can expect when they buy Bridge Road beer. So I think it's just, it gets consistent results because it's a consistent beer. We make a consistent effort to promote the beer and encourage our loyal group of supporters to vote for it every year. So just repetitive, hard, consistent work. That's the kind of beer it is, and that's the result that it gets.
And if we look at some of these early polls, so the first poll, 2008, Beechworth Pale was in there at 80, but you had a much higher beer in the Chevalier Saison, which was 22. The year after that, again, Beach Pale's in there, but Bling IPA did much better. Year after that, we're talking B2 Bomber Imperial IPA, India Saison again the year after, and a Belgian quad with Nyongye brewery. I don't know the results. We both don't know the results, but I think we can both probably comfortably say a Belgian quad appearing towards the pointier edge this year is unlikely. Like, what do you think of the poll? It has obviously changed a lot to be focused on that, I guess, maybe more diverse craft beer market, but also maybe pointier end beer nerds. Like, how do you think about how it's changed?
I don't know what the numbers of votes received were. I don't know if that's even disclosed from those initial polls through till now. But it was definitely quite tightly focused in terms of the audience it reached initially. So they were probably people like the people listening to this podcast or watching us as well. So that idea of who the audience is reaching probably dictates what styles of beer get in there. So initially it was, a poll that was run out of the local tap house, I believe, and a pretty strong audience of people really into craft beer and really looking at what was most exciting that year, what new beer styles might have been something that was a highlight for the year. Much like, it feels a lot like the Hottest 100 music countdown voting, and that is only about what beer came out that year. What music came out that year. So I think it was used in that way. We definitely noticed we were getting 5 to 10 beers in the Hottest 100 each year and ranking, in different locations, either in the 80s or the 50s or in the teens, but really struggling to have, a voice in the top 10 regularly. So our messaging changed and say, hey, if you support us and what we do, we know you love our B2 Bomber or our latest IPA, but if you want to vote for us and see us do well, vote for Beechworth Pale. And we've seen that's, I don't think we were the first to do that, but we were one of the few that really focused on that. And now if you see anyone with a campaign, that's how it's led. They pick their flagship beer, and the campaign is all about that beer and trying to raise the profile of that beer. And it's probably a lot to do with, the people's attachment to the brand and appreciation of a brand, and then that beer. But I also think Beechworth Pale Ale has a strong and loyal following. It's not that the people voting for it don't drink it. It's sort of become that go-to quintessential craft pale ale in Australia. Whether it's not American pale ale, it's not necessarily fit that XPA Australian pale category because it's not pale yellow. It's sort of reflective of the 20-year ago craft beer industry in Australia and a little bit of modernization, but it sort of crosses both sides. So it's still relevant in modern brewing, and it has its roots in, I wouldn't say in a great history, but in a 20-year history of craft beer in Australia.
Yeah, okay, great. And Ben, do you have any hopes or predictions on where you might see it land this year?
Well, personally, we always try to hope and predict that we can do as well as we did in the previous year. We never know what the result's going to be. We work hard to encourage people to vote, and we do it in a way that we think is as ethical as possible. We don't really offer any incentive to do it. We just ask people to take the time and make a vote. So if we can be in the top 5, we'll all be very, very happy. But we'll see what the results are.
Yeah, and if not Beachy Pale, do you have any predictions on who might take out the top spot?
I think it'll be hard to go past Mountain Culture and Status Quo. They've done such a great job, not only of their beer, but their distribution and their relevance in the market, and they've got a loyal following. And an independent beer at number 1 again would be great. And I also know the guys at Benspoke work really hard as well. So either of those two, I'm guessing, will slot into number 1. But if it was Beechworth Pale, I wouldn't be complaining.
Fantastic. All right, Ben, let's leave it there.
All right. Thanks, Will.
Cheers. Thanks, mate.
Ben Krause, what an amazing business he's built and an enduring legacy with Beachy Pale. Speaking of the greats, of the all-time greats, I asked our amazing Hottest 100 stats advisor, Daniel Reid, if you're watching, thank you very much, to give me the breakdown. So if we look at the entire history of the poll, so what are we, 16 editions of it, 17 now, over the last 16 editions, 1,600 beers, Bridge Road has earned a whopping 64 places in the poll. Of course, 16 of those now being Beachy Pale. which means they're about 2/3 of the way to creating their own Hottest 100. Well done, Ben. Then you've got Little Creatures with 58 positions, Mountain Goat with 57, tied with Feral as well. Cooper's at 49 and Four Pines 48. And no, I didn't just read out CUB and Lions shopping list right there. If you look at it state by state, Victoria has been the most dominant state. We're seeing more from New South Wales these days, but over the whole history, Victoria with 225 positions in the poll. New South Wales 177. Queensland coming up like a rocket with 99. WA 67, ACT 20. Tasmania 7 until today. None since 2012, as we mentioned. And Northern Territory has had 4 beers in the entire history of the poll, and I think all of them were 1 Mile Brewing.
1 Mile, one year they had some coverage in the NT News, the country's finest newspaper, and rocketed 4 of their beers in a few years ago, yeah. Now, you told me I was going to be the stats nerd for this, Craig. You just sort of stole my thunder here.
Stole all
whatever.
your thunder.
Whatever.
Now, guys, apparently while we've been speaking, the next
beer number 8 has appeared. If
number 8.
you don't have it in front of you, Craig, it is Filter XBA.
There we go.
So
you were talking about this yesterday, actually, Will.
Yeah, well, their campaign was all about how they hadn't been in the top 10 before, so they were just saying that they'd love to be in it, and they'll be stoked with that they've made it, which is awesome. Yeah. Now we have got someone on the line here who, importantly, a beer of theirs hasn't appeared yet.
Yeah, so again,
Queensland.
we're going to go to across to the Sunshine Coast, my hometown, and chat to Kristen McGarry from Your Mates Brewing, the Epic Party. Kristen.
G'day, mates. How you going?
Good. How are you doing?
Hey, Kristen,
pretty good,
can you turn your phone sideways so we can...
Oh, is he going to...
Beauty.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Sorry. How you going? Sorry, I had to go outside because it's a little loud in there, and I was struggling to hear you guys. So,
you got the party started early?
Yeah.
Kristen, how are you feeling, mate? We haven't seen Larry yet, the flagship beer. Last year, I think, was it number... What are we talking about here? 4.
Number 4, yeah. So we've had 5 years in the top 5. That's pretty proud accolade for ourselves. But, yeah, it's been a pretty, different... There's been a lot of movement in the kind of up to the top 10 so far, so it's exciting to see some movements. We've had not 1 beer so far this year. We usually get a couple or 3. So yeah, it's good to see lots and lots of new beers in the 100 this year.
Yes.
Yeah. And in terms of campaigning, McGarry, did you sort of say you really wanted people to just vote for 1 beer, or is it just how it sort of ended up, assuming that Larry gets in there?
I think we spend more time thinking of which song we're gonna cover. So this year was "Come On Aussie, Come On" into the "Come On Larry, Come On" rendition that we did, which is a bit of a misspent youth of mine. I get to take advantage of recording our accounts team singing the chorus to the song, looking at their faces, going, "Why am I working somewhere where I've got to sing in front of my co-workers?" I feel for them. Yeah, we're always pushing for Larry, definitely. And if anyone else gets up there, if any of the other beers gets up there, it's great. But yeah, Larry's been our flagship. He's my baby.
Well, mate, Kristen,
he's the beer that I learned to brew beer, designing the recipe for him, and yeah, we love him.
Kristen, I imagine you're at the brew pub at the moment. I'd love you to actually, as we finish talking, kind of wander back inside and give our viewers a taste of the iconic Your Mates Countdown Party, because I try to describe it to people. I've been to a few of them. It's just a thing to be seen. So wander that way as we keep talking.
Yeah, you guys want to come check it out?
Yeah, we want to check it.
You might not be able to hear us. That's all right, though.
Yeah, I might not be able to hear you once again. The piece de resistance every year is when Larry comes up. We flood the venue with yellow tins, and debauchery begins. But let's go have a look what's going on in there.
Give us the tour.
Yeah, you've been hyping this up for us, Craig. Saying
it's just a
Sunshine Coast
vibe,
Best Party.
right? It's we talked about.
Hi everyone.
Hey, Tony, get him, Jay, up here. What's going on?
Larry, come on.
There you go.
There we go.
Doesn't take much to get a bunch of Queenslanders singing. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, team. And we hope to see Larry up the top of the list.
main character energy there.
Yeah, brilliant. Fantastic.
Nice one. Cheers, Kristen.
Cheers, mate. Talk soon.
Cheers, guys. Now, in the chat, I think we've had a lot more comments coming through. I want to hear about the beers that you voted for. It might not be the ones that hit the top 10. It might be the smaller release beers that you truly loved. So jump on the chat. Tell us about what your favourite beers were. And just to set the scene, get you in the mood, we've asked a couple more legends what theirs were for the year. Let's go to that.
So my standout beer of the year in the Gabs Hottest 100 of 2024 is the Hiker Horizon Hazy Pale Ale. It is an absolute banger. It's first and foremost, it's a Queensland beer, so it's my local beer and that sort of thing. It's so smooth and sessionable and easy to drink, and it's just got all those awesome tropical fruit notes, and I love it. It's great. So get it.
Paul here from To All My Friends. Giving you my 2024 beer, my favourite beer. I'm going with the Nipa from local brewery Ambush Brewing here in Canberra. This is their Enter the Nectardome, packed full of Nectaron hops and a little bit of Victoria as well. It's back to basics for Nipas. It's a hazy juice bomb. So yeah, this is my favourite beer of 2024. If you want to know a little bit more about it, head on over to All My Friends Bar on YouTube, and you can hear me sit down with the brewer and go through the beer in a lot more detail. Cheers from To All My Friends.
There you go, just a couple more. So jump in the chat. And I do have to say as well, we're going to give out a free Crafty Cabal membership for some of the best comments in the chat today. So we'll look at it in deep dive detail after the show. Crafty Cabal is our loyalty club we run. It's an annual fee of $99, and you're going to get a huge amount of value back in these
deals, giveaways,
tough cost of living times,
events.
Deals, giveaways, beers, special events. We often run them throughout the year. So jump on craftykabal.com to check that out. Now, James, I think you've been busy texting away and reaching out to some of the new brewers that have debuted in the Hottest 100. What are the sort of messages you're getting back?
Well, I've had one just come in from Nick at One Drop. Fucking cheers, legend. Pretty insane that a fucking double fruited smoothie sour made the top 10. Now, that wasn't me swearing. If the kids are watching at home, this is me reading it out. Only sour on the board, so there you go. Cheers, Nick. But no, we had Grace from Reckless. She's actually in a bit of a quandary. Says they're just amazed, not even at the brewery. Very unexpected, but so awesome. I'm now trying to find a babysitter so I can get to the brewery and celebrate with the crew. And talking about the crew, they're all awesome. Huge shout out to the brewers. Hopefully I find a babysitter before I've had too many BX lagers to drive. We heard back from Jeff at Seeker. Says they're all over the moon there. Really grateful for the support for their brewery. The passion is 100%. Future Magic, who debuted for the first time earlier. Sean said the result got announced just as the tap room opened, so all their customers got walked in to be greeted by an excited Sonia in the tap room, launching into an explanation of what it all means to us. Really happy with that beer. Thrilled that people are getting behind the small community-focused breweries. Everything we do is for the community, and for them to have supported us with votes that got this high, we can't thank them enough. Curly Lewis, massive thanks to all the legends that have supported us. Ryan at Margaret River, no better way to cap off a big year for them with a big jump in the Pines. Thanks everyone for voting. So lots of very happy people out there who have either not been in the poll before or have had a big leap up there. So as Kristen said, they've noticed as well massive change compared to. I guess there's been commentary over the last few years of almost more of the same. There's always stories in every poll when you do a bit of deep diving and looking year on year. But I'm worried we're not going to make it to the Keys in time for our lane at 7 o'clock because I've got a lot of analysis and writing to do when this is finished. And no more surprises, please. Just
We will make it for the post-show drinks. Don't worry, I will be sure of that. Fantastic results, and just hearing some of those messages. I know every year breweries bombard their fans, their customers with Vote For Us messaging, but it really does make a massive difference to every one of these small local businesses that you're supporting. And if they make the list, it's putting their beer on show for the rest of the craft beer drinkers around Australia. Will, anything in the chat again? How are we doing?
Yeah, it's popping off. A lot of people, few favourite beers obviously in there. Someone, Daniel McDonald, wanted to shout out Shark Island Brewery and their Shipwreck Hazy.
Yeah, nice.
Shipwreck, sorry. We haven't seen that yet either, so we'll keep an eyes closed. Thirsty Crow Vanilla Milk Stout. Obviously that's changed hands a little bit recently.
Well, the one that you bet on for a Pilsner, yet to appear.
Yeah, yet to appear too, yes. A few people wanted to shout out Currumbin Valley Brewing as well. Yeah. And, we might actually have the next beer, do we, Craig?
Let's flick to the list. I think my computer's on like a one result delay. So
think back to our previous guest.
Oh, okay. So
we should have tried to keep him on the line for longer.
Should have. We've had Larry. God, we just missed the moment when it hit the poll on the countdown. But
it's further proof that we don't actually have the results in advance.
We definitely do not. What bad timing. But we would have seen, I'm sure, if we were still on the line with Kristen, that entire venue would have absolutely erupted. So your mates, Larry, coming in number 7 in the list. We're seeing there. Congratulations to the team at Your Mates. Okay, so now I think we're going to go
to another Gateway beer potentially.
Yeah, I think we'll hit up another Gateway beer section. So another few people from the industry talking about the beers that got them into craft beer.
Hey, this is Jocelyn with Hop On Brewery Tours. My epiphany beer in Australia probably would have been Farrell's Hop Hog back in 2010, 2011 when I first moved out here. Somebody recommended it to us when we were out having a coffee and a beer one night, and it changed my world. I'd had a lot of really amazing beers growing up in the Pacific Northwest of the US, but this is one of the first Australian beers that just had so much flavor and so much bitterness and hop forwardness that it encouraged me to explore what else was available here in Australia that had those kind of flavors. So Farrell Hop Hog, definitely one of the OG epiphany beers for me.
Hey, I'm Matt Stewart, host of The Beer Pioneer, which is coming back for season 2 this week. It launches on January 27th. You can find it online if you, just search for The Beer Pioneer, Matt Stewart. Too easy. Anyway, happy Hottest 100 Day, one of the greatest days of the year, of course. I've been asked to tell you about the beer that sort of got me into craft beer, the Gateway beer. And this is hard. I don't know if I got a simple answer for you. I reckon maybe stouts probably got me. They were the first ones to get me past just drinking Carlton Draft and VB. You know, like Cascade Stout. That was a big one. And then I remember Bee's Knees, Matilda Bay. A little hint of honey. That just opened up the world a little bit. Oh, what the hell? What's going on here? Beer can be more than just Carlton Draft. And then I grew up in Moorabbin, and Two Brothers Brewery opened up, and that really, really opened the eyes. The Chief, I remember that one being a big one. They don't make it anymore, but it was a classic. Anyway, great time there. Hope you're all having a lovely Hottest 100. I wish you all the best. I hope your beer comes number 1. Good day.
There you go, Matty the Beer Pioneer with his Gateway beer. One of the topics that always comes up in discussion around the Gabs Hottest 100, there's quite a few topics, but one of them is sort of about ownership and independence and, should we be allowing the craft brands that are owned by the multinationals into the poll? And certainly Gabs addresses this with releases of independent-only lists and other subcategory lists following the main poll. Just to give you a bit of background, I can't speak on behalf of Gabs today, but I do know that the original intention of including every beer kind of considered a craft beer in Australia was to include those beers that probably many people consider their gateway beer. I know for myself it was probably Little Creatures Pale Ale. I can still remember the first time I tasted that, which is of course now owned by Lion. Where do you guys stand on this? Is this a beer popularity contest that gets a broad range of people talking about beer, or is it something we should be changing now to be a bit more about the local independence and maybe a bit more exclusive?
Definitely an interesting one. It's probably been a discussion as old as time itself, or certainly as old as the poll itself. And when I got caught up in it, I'd always fall probably on that side, going, you know what?
On which side?
We want to get more people talking about craft beer. So if people only know Stone and Wood or they only know whatever, then let's keep it there. Certainly things have evolved. And I think, having said that, even this poll is evolving. Not only the small guys coming in, I've just been having a look at the list so far. I think there's only been 16 beers from the major breweries so far, the major breweries craft brands. Last year there were 22. So unless the top 6 are all Lion or CB brands, then there's going to be a pretty significant drop-off, and part of that will be Feral, I guess, going back to independence.
And that's what's so important about it, isn't it? It's kind of like, well, you exclude the corporate or the multinationals, all of a sudden you don't really know what the temperature is out there. Like if these beers are dropping, that kind of tells you more that it's more interesting, I think, personally, which is why I think multinationals should be included, is it's more interesting to see how they move as a way to sort of measure temperature and think about breweries and things like that. Because at the end of the day, they do drop as a general rule. It might take a little while, but breweries that sell, they drop, and maybe they lose relevance as well, but there is less interest, and it is a big poll, so I think that matters.
And you wonder with less beers certainly from bigger indies available more widely, and maybe this message about supporting local is getting through. If people aren't going out and spending so much in retail, maybe they are, supporting, going to their local brewery or whatever, and maybe that is what's cutting through. It's hard to say without having full visibility of all the votes or what have you. But certainly, that message, we pushed it hard during COVID, keeping local alive, and that message is certainly being pushed, and, as more breweries retreat, in terms of how far they're sort of pushing their tentacles and trying to win over their local suburbs or their local town or whatever, then that is potentially going to change things. And I do think it's, probably a more slow build growth for craft beer after, the crazy years have faded. But I think it has more longevity, it has more legs. If you can win over your local community, including the people who might not like any hops in their, any hoppy beers, but they like the fact that you're local and you employ locally and you have a trivia night and you do a meat raffle or whatever it is, like whatever it might be, they come down and go, like Daniel from Hiker said to us on the Queensland Year in Beer podcast, that local breweries are becoming the pub before the pokies, and they're becoming more welcoming to all sorts of people. And I think that's a change we're seeing. It's not great for the people who've grown to be 2, 3, 4 million litres and have been hit really hard, but maybe it's going to help put down deeper roots on a more broader way. And so the next wave of growth, when people have some money to spend again, is coming from a stronger platform.
And I think you mentioned exclusion, Will, and if you exclude this, you exclude that. You're also excluding potential voters. So, people who might be at the very start of that journey of they've always kind of drunk more mainstream beers, and maybe they've picked up a James Squire or a Little Creatures. They've seen advertising around the Gabs Hottest 100. They're going onto the poll, and they're just not seeing that beer there. That's a pretty bad experience, I think, for someone who's kind of, okay, I'm just starting out. Why can't I find my favourite craft beer? I definitely still... go down that path.
I've got a couple of
should be more inclusive.
Comments on this from the YouTube comment section. One from Matthew Beggs, a big supporter of craft beer, and he says, I love the fact that Crown Lager, the first poll, Crown Lager was in it. There's always been multinationals as part of it, and so it should continue. And Daniel Ridd, our stat man, he also thinks it should be everyone because, think about how good it feels for an indie brewery to outpace all those multinationals, which I think we're going to see plenty of them, unless the list is very different from previous years. We will see some breweries do way better than ones with much larger budgets, which I think is important as well.
What's interesting, though, we talked about it sort of off air earlier, is Byron Bay Brewery's premium lager being in there. I'm sure, there can be debate about whether that should be in there, maybe because of the style of beer it is. But we've had a look just sort of quickly while we've been on air and can't find any social media presence for them at all over the last few months. No push. I don't know whether there's been targeted ads or whatever, but that seems like a bit of an anomaly. Like, how did Byron Bay's Brewery's premium lager, which, when there isn't a Byron Bay brewery anymore, make it into the poll? So that's just a quirk. One of the quirk, not related to this conversation, I'd love to get in there because I am a nerd. Capital Brewing's Hang Loose Juice has made the poll again and has actually climbed up the poll. And Capital deleted that beer a few weeks ago and have replaced it in their lineup with Hazy Pale instead. So just a little, couple of oddities in the poll there.
There might be someone on the phone in Canberra right now saying, back into production. It's all happening.
Yeah. There's a question, I was looking at the question. So Tim Welsh-Elliott says to the panel, you're in the industry, what are your gateway beers? I mean, you sort of mentioned yours.
Yeah, look, I think Little Creatures Pale would definitely be way up there. Sierra Nevada, I still remember, obviously not Australian, but I remember the first sip of that was blew my mind. And even I think some of the James Squire beers, like was there a Golden Ale? Was that one?
Yeah, Chancer.
Some of those, but then Feral Hop Hog was another one that, and even Murray's. We talked about them before as well. They're Fred IPA or.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, my I guess gateway beers would have been back in the UK, but coming over
and
here,
at the dawn of time as well.
yeah, dawn of time. I'm only a year older than you bastard.
It was an Egyptian bread that had been left out to ferment in the sun.
Yeah.
Really tasty.
Yeah, my mummy let me have it. Yes, I was going to say, but over here, I think the first or second beer I've ever had after moving to Australia was Mountain Goat Hightail. I ordered it just because it was the beer. It was the beer on the menu I'd never heard of before. But I'd say the one that blew my mind, Murray's again, was their Icon 2 IPA, one of the first double IPAs over here at Beer Deluxe with a good friend of mine, Tom Delmont, who went on to Fixation, and he said, "You've got to try this." And I just moved here, didn't have much money. He's like, it was like $10 a stubby, and I was like, I can't drop $10 on a stubby. And he goes, "Just have it." And
that's the bargain bin today, James.
But it just blew my. I couldn't believe someone in Australia was making a beer like that. And you do have those moments, even though I'd been drinking what I'd say was good beer, real ales, and lagers and heifers when I lived in Germany. That was such a. I remember it just being so blown away, going, I can't believe that's happening in Australia. Will, of a younger generation?
It's funny hearing Matty Stewart before. A big one for me was Two Brothers. I remember buying that American Amber Ale Grizz. And it just completely blew me away. Like, it was hop forward, malt forward. It kind of like had it all. And it's why it's interesting talking about, what beers lead people to craft beer. For me, it was that sort of like just nothing I'd experienced ever before. Having that, that was great. Whereas I don't really think a sort of more accessible craft beer would have blown my mind in that way.
Now I'm going to jump in there because I think we've had the next beer, number 6, drop.
Yeah, time for disco.
My screen's still not working. What is it, James? Say it again.
Range Brewing's Disco. So it's leapt up the charts. Probably on the back of the inspiration of your conversation with them, Will.
Yeah, no, that's great to see. They'll be stoked. What is more exciting is I'm pretty sure the people of Newstead will be particularly happy because someone said in the comments that they're doing pints for the prices of whatever the beer came in at. So $6 pints of Disco. I mean, that's an awesome win.
That's a great result.
For fans of Range, and it's an awesome result for Range. They will be stoked. We'll see who else comes in, but for a brewer of that size, I know they get a lot of attention. There's a lot of hype behind them, but they're not massive. Like, to see them really get up there over these years, it's really nice to see. And you can't predict the future, but I reckon that's one of those beers that in 4 years we'll be talking about it floating around in there still. I think once you get up there, sometimes you hang around, and it's a modern beer, isn't it? Hop forward, pale ale. It's got everything sort of a lot of beer drinkers are looking for at the moment.
Yeah.
So, guys, who have we got left to come? Because we've kind of, I guess we can pull that one back. We've got Stone and Wood. Cooper's still to come, I guess. We've got Single Fin still to come. Beachy
is gone.
Pale. Your Mates has already come through.
Yeah.
What is this our final 5?
Oh, who knows?
Who knows? Let's just put that there and it's like we prepared it earlier.
We can go home.
Yeah, let's go home. We're done.
Interesting.
Time for the after party.
Yeah, interesting to see the layout there as well, I think.
Well, it is, and it's kind of. We talk about you've got a couple. You've got Bolter. Bolter's the only one in there now that is no longer independent.
Yeah.
So 4 of the potential 5 beers still remaining now in that independent space, which I think is a fantastic result.
Yeah.
Talk to me more about what are your thoughts, James? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I guess now that we're at the pointy end, we are seeing similar beers to, I guess if it is those 5, we should say.
It's going to be that 5.
I'm still rooting for Foreigner Pilsner, which we'll all go and drink after this. My shout.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think perhaps no surprises if it is those 5 at the top. 5 of those sort of beers at the top. But I think, again, just looking below that, it has been really, there's so many, other stories in there. And hopefully, it might put a bit more of a different spin on the conversation that comes from this. And maybe, some of the smaller breweries that didn't take part this year because they're just so, strapped for cash, strapped for people, probably don't have someone doing socials or marketing anymore and went, you know what, we're not going to make the 100, let's not bother. They might look at it and go, well, hang on. Look at where all those breweries came, and maybe it'll be a bit of fresh injection of interest for next year.
Are there any breweries, in fact, that we haven't seen in the list who were in there last year? Thinking of that reason of potentially you've made the list before. Do you continue to invest? Maybe not substantial budgets in marketing and so on, but it's definitely time and resource and effort to...
You put me on the spot now. I'm going to start looking through the last year's list.
Well, one that sort of comes to mind would be someone like Brick Lane.
Yes.
They could jump up, but I don't really think any of those beers won't be in there. But, they haven't appeared right, and that might be a change in focus. They went sort of hard for One Love Pale Ale in previous years and have focused...
Came in 39th.
Okay,
in the top 40.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm assuming that's dropped, and it'll be interesting when you see the sort of later list to see where that might have fallen to. They focus more on low-carb beers now, so it might be more about the changing priorities as a business as well.
Just looking down the list, we haven't seen Modus. The Cerveza has been in the last couple of years.
Okay. I don't think Modus campaigned at all this year. So that would be an example. And the other reason people might stop, it's not just the pressures and the staff and that kind of thing. It's also... you might have changed where you want to sell your beer to. Like if you're pulling back and, getting up there helps with conversations with national retailers. If you're less interested in that, then why bother, sort of.
Yep. No, understood. Any other standouts there? I think, have we seen Brouhaha, just from my own neck of the woods on the sunny coast?
Because they had their straw barb, whatever they call it, was in it.
Straw barb sour was in last year at 84, but I guess that had been a position drop of 20 positions from the previous year, so maybe a different focus for those guys. And where did my Moffat Beach come in? We had we got them to
the 50s, I think.
Moffat Beach was 25 last year. The biggest mover of last year's poll, up 295 positions. And I think, have we seen them?
Yeah, no, they were in there
earlier on.
54 with passenger pale ale.
Okay, so it's a very solid result and a fantastic beer. So well done.
Yeah.
With Heads of Noosa right by them. So
yeah, and something to look now. I mean, now we are getting towards the top end. If that is the 5, once again it is a very pale ale and lager heavy poll with the very notable exceptions. We have to make sure we hunt down a wee jammin' can for next year if we're invited back. But yeah, it is it is almost exclusively once again. And I guess that's just how things go. The bigger something gets, that sort of regression to the mean or whatever you want to call it. That if there are more voters and there are more breweries pushing that, and I guess also the realities of beer in Australia this year as well is that there are less limited releases out there. There's less focus on that apart from a handful of breweries. There's more breweries putting out more approachable, affordable, sort of lower cost beers or whatever, because they're having to find ways of matching people's budgets, I guess.
You mentioned lager, James. Definitely, I think we've seen a little bit of an increase in the lager styles.
Yeah, well, I think if there's no more to come, if it is that.
Byron Bay Brewery, Premiums Lager.
Another point of interest for us always is size of beers. So looking through to talk on range again, lights and music. And unless some Imperial Stout's about to jump the list, that's a 10% triple hazy IPA.
What was interesting, actually, we commented when it came in earlier, is that it landed right next to Helios's Dionysus Oak Cream Double IPA.
Yeah.
So there aren't many big beers in there, but it's interesting to know that people who like big beers like them 41st or 42nd, best of all, in that sort of 40-ish zone. But yeah, they'd be the two, I'm assuming, two of the biggest ones in there. But just having quickly, I would say that there's been more lagers than in any previous year. Like we were looking back the other day at some of the early years. I think if you go back maybe a decade, there was, I think, one lager made the list.
That was a very dirty word then.
Yeah, and maybe a couple of the years after, and it has been a steady increase. I mean, we probably did our first, lager renaissance article maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and it's taken a bit longer than that, but
Probably maybe too early.
Yeah, maybe. Well, you've got to be ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And I think, that it's definitely a thing. Like, I would say there's probably 15 or so lagers in that list, which is, we were expecting that sort of number every year after we wrote that article, kind of going, oh, damn it. But we did that with sours back in the day as well.
Yeah, which have dropped off from the list. Just an interesting on styles in the comments. Matthew says, if the poll was held in winter, how would that look? Because I think we've got 2 dark beers over the whole 100. So they are very summery sort of beers. And we heard from Sam before talking about the promotion was really just his Hop Nation sort of drive of what they want to sell over summer as well. Disco as well with range. So I think if you moved it to different times, someone else has said you'd have to expect stouts to place higher if maybe we're in the middle of stout season. There is that element of when the list is held.
Yeah, certainly. I think timing and seasonality would play a part, and but it's interesting. I think things like the Hottest 100. It's a mass popularity. Finger on the pulse of what's happening at that exact moment when the votes are going on. It is fantastic to see though. You still have these real strong audiences around particular styles and so on. We see that with the smaller events like Hop Nation's Blobfish Festival, dedicated to sour and wild ferment beers.
Obsidian Dark Beer Festival, a new one last year in Ballarat in the middle of winter.
Ballarat,
all
I
dark
think
beers.
Bright Brewery do their Darker Days. Is that that festival there where they're talking all about dark beers? So these things are happening. There's real niche groups all around that are following and supporting those styles of beers.
Maybe there was a double smoothie sour festival that we missed where, the conditions of you got $10 off your ticket if you voted for one drop.
That's every weekend at One Drop. There we go. We've just had the next beer drop, and it is this one, Gage Road's Single Fin.
I'm liking this, how you can move this.
Yeah, this is really cool.
This is like very
cool.
Anthony Green of
So this one's confirmed.
Light it up
These
blue.
ones are TBC. We're not sure yet.
Yeah.
So Single Fin locked in at number 5. There we go. Moving back in the poll, one position. Gage Roads, massive business. Talk to me about them, James.
Yeah, well, they've they have a presence nationally, and also part of the Good Drinks Group that also owns Matzo's. They actually shuttered Atomic, which was their sort of craftier beer brand earlier this year, and the brewpub was taken over by Mountain Culture. But they do Albi Lager, which is, I think, mainly available in WA, sort of more that sort of crisp lager sort of style. They have been around for a long time.
They Single Fin as well, really.
Single fin, well, and Single Fin, and then the big thing for them was securing the tender to pour booze at the Perth Stadium, Optus Stadium, which is massive for them. And I think essentially, so they aim to make Single Fin kind of like the beer of WA, and I think when the old Swan Brewery closed down, there was sort of an opportunity to move into that, and I think they've done a pretty good job of getting it has become that sort of esky beach beer and the one that's sort of on tap everywhere. Just a real easy drinking, gentle, like I think it's Enigma hops, sort of easygoing summer ale, which captures that WA beach vibe.
Yeah.
They have an amazing brew pub on the waterfront. Where they make some more of the limited releases as well, and just bigger operation that they just do make great beers. They've had a previous champion Australian beer at the ABAs a few years ago with their Little Dove Pale Ale that they brought back last year. So just a solid operation making some good beers.
And they obviously now own Matzo's from Broome as well, or originally from Broome. And we saw Matzo's in the poll earlier with their mango beer at number 50. Being now from the Sunshine Coast, we've just seen Matzo's move from, or not move, but expand from Broome to a Sunshine Coast operation, taking over the old Imperial Hotel and space up there. Not the Imperial, Joe's Watering Hole, sorry. Which has seen them sort of expand there, and it kind of makes sense. Moving from Melbourne to Queensland, wasn't super aware of ginger beer and mango beer and things like that.
Then you change your climate, and suddenly
it's everyone's doing it. So jump on board, why not? Will, anything in the comments? Where are we at?
There's a few. I like the comment on our dark. If we did the hottest 100 in winter, we could call it the coldest 100.
Oh, well. That's good.
Wonderful. But I also like this from Lewis Duffy. He said, dark beers are like the screamo songs in the hottest 100. There's always one or two in there, but they're pretty polarising music, so it kind of doesn't quite make it in the same way. I think that's how I remember those Triple J hottest 100 parties when we were having them at uni. You'd always sort of a screamo song come on and you'd be like, do we put an iPod on for a minute, or how do we sort of handle this as a group?
Yeah, fantastic. Guys, we've got about 5 more minutes until the next beer drops. I don't know if we want to start making our own little predictions, but probably. And
we are we are looking at getting someone from Gage Roads on that, so as well. So hopefully we'll be able to chat to someone about how they're feeling.
Yep.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
The question get a little bit more sort of political in the comments as well. People are asking about alcohol tax and why do we think wine doesn't face the same challenges. I guess, they do have a different tax regime. They probably have been lobbying and had more money and had more friendships, longer lasting with politicians, all these kind of things. But certainly, we're only a couple of weeks away from another excise tax hike. It's been in the news again with Kaiju going to VA, and I guess, be part of the discussion around Hawkers and White Bay merging this week and forming a new company. So, I guess it just shows that we're here today having this, very positive chat about all these things going on, but against a backdrop of some pretty major challenges. But which I guess is why it's nice once a year to get together and have a bit of fun and chat about these things.
Yeah, I think that's important. Now we've seen Aaron appear in front of us.
Yes.
So we've got Aaron from Gage Roads. Aaron, how are you, mate?
Gentlemen, how are we?
Great. How are you doing? You look like you're in some tropical paradise.
I'm in the backyard, mate. I'm just enjoying the old single fin. Very stoked coming in at number 5.
Yeah, that's awesome. How's it feel?
Oh, it's fabulous. Yeah, we've I think, what did we get last year? 6, was it?
We think so. I should have it in front of me.
4th, actually.
No. Yeah, they're up 1. 6, yes, you're right.
Sorry,
yeah, great.
Yeah.
Closing in,
no,
so
really stoked.
2028 will be coming to you for number 1.
Just keep coming up 1 every year. No, I'm really stoked. I'm absolutely ecstatic with everyone that voted for us. I think we're probably the number 1 WA beer, I assume, and that's pretty. We're pretty stoked with that. Thanks to everyone that voted. This is clearly my favourite beer of all. And to our team and just to everyone who put this together for us. We've got our marketing team and all the creatives and everyone. There's always a little bit that goes on behind the scenes to get to this. So yeah, super happy.
And how are things in the WA beer scene these days? I know you sort of have been a little bit in a bubble from some of the issues affecting us on the East Coast. Are things still bumper summer and things going well?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of magic happening at our brewery at the moment. We're growing really well, and we're the woes that are affecting some of the rest of the market. Obviously, we're not immune to any of that, and it's been a really tough year for everyone. But we're going really, really, really well. And I don't know, to speak for the other WA brewers, I think I think the slowdown sort of affected everyone. But for us, look, it's onwards and upwards. We've just delisted the company off the stock exchange, and it's really exciting sort of future for us. So we're stoked.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we've certainly seeing some positive signs in the WA breweries. Like Rocky Ridge have climbed a little bit as well to number 16 with their Gin Dong Juicy, and obviously they opened their brewery in Melbourne recently.
Feral Hop Hog is back as well, one of the classics. So back in independent ownership and back on the list too, which is pretty cool.
Great to see. Yeah, great to see.
Yeah, no, I texted John Stallwood earlier, who's obviously now, I guess, in stewardship of the Feral brand, and he said he's got big hopes. But it's 25 years for Nail this year and 25 years for Little Creatures. So you were one of the foundation brewers at Little Creatures. So there's, lot to celebrate this year.
Yeah, it's also 20 years for Gage Roads this year as well.
Yeah. So, your babies.
Yeah, it's a big year for WA brewing.
Yeah.
And I remember when when I was at Creatures in the early days, and John Stallwood was on the scene as well, and that was just another lifetime ago. That was so 25 years ago. That just doesn't seem real, does it? But anyway, yeah, it's the only thing that's constant is time, mate. It moves on.
Indeed. No, congratulations. That's a great result for you. Enjoy the rest of the day. And yeah, it's looking bloody lovely in your backyard. So
awesome. Well, thanks to the team at Gabs. Thanks, guys, and thanks for everyone that voted.
Cheers. Thanks, Aaron.
Cheers.
There you go, Aaron Heary from Gage Roads, celebrating the fifth position. One up, sorry. I think I said down before, but no, it was definitely...
He knew to correct you, don't worry.
Yeah, no, very good.
No, you moved it along the table in a different direction. That's what it was.
My order was probably messed up, but there you go.
No, it's interesting you mentioned those anniversaries as well. Like we did a lot of stuff with me hitting the table now. We did a lot of stuff with Holgate for their 25th anniversary last year. I think we maybe commented in something, over the last few months about there's so many. We ran so many 10 lessons from 10 years articles on the Crafty Pint last year as well. Like, and sort of say how it sort of marks that occasion of so many breweries launching maybe 10 years ago, but to have Nail and Little Creatures marking 25 years next year, the Gage Roads 20. Like, it just shows. I guess it re-emphasises that WA has played such a key role in building the craft beer industry over here.
Yeah. Are you saying that there's a small group of senior citizens in the craft beer community, and we've now got the young up and comers coming through, or is this a controversial hot take from?
No, I just think it's just a reminder, how long some people have been around, and and for people maybe coming into craft beer now and getting into it where it is easy to get, and hoppy pale ales and nice pilsner are so readily available that. They need to, there's been people who've been doing this for a long, long time that have helped build this industry and been through many ups and downs, So
I think running any business, let alone a brewery, for 25 years and maintaining that independence and often family ownership, it's a massive achievement, and I think it's just a testament to the fact that they're still appearing in contests like this and very high up the list. It's they've obviously built an incredible business, incredible brand, and a wonderful community around them.
Yeah.
I think we've got a few minutes still until the next...
Well, I've got a little stat update on as we wait for that. So from Daniel Reid, so Single Fin's been in the poll 8 times, and it hasn't been outside of the top 40 since 2016. So really one of these beers that has had a lot of popularity for a long time. That's pretty impressive. There's a couple of others like that. We were talking before when we saw it, Moondog's Old Mate. Like, it's always up and about in there, and has been for a long time. Great beer, great name. Picked up a trophy, what was that, 2 years ago, I think?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, some big news for number 4.
Okay, so just in at number 4, we've got Benspoke Brewing Crankshaft. So I can do this one now?
Yeah.
Am I right? 1, 2, 3.
And that one has moved down one, Craig,
That one has moved down one. So in third position last year, and a long-time resident of the podium, or at the top 5 as well.
Double winner.
Yeah, Benspoke in Canberra. We might try and get the guys over there on the line.
Yeah.
But obviously another incredible independent beer. Give us more of a background there as well, James.
Well, I think getting an IPA, onto the top of the poll as they did and keeping it up there is quite something. I know Hop Hog is the same ABV, and it was tagged an IPA back in the days when they did its three-peat. But I think to have a 5.8% beer with a pretty solid malt base as well as your flagship is a pretty ballsy move, and I think to do that, to stick to it, and to maintain it up there is quite something. Obviously, they've had other beers in the list today. I think Barley Griffin dropped a bit earlier. Sprocket, which I always tell Richard is my favourite of their IPAs, has actually fallen down into the lower echelons.
It's a great IPA, Sprocket.
Yeah.
It's the IPA lovers' IPA.
Yeah, and so, but I think I'm sure they'll be delighted the beer's still up there. Probably a bit of disappointment that it's not on the podium this year. But again, for an IPA to be up there in these days where maybe that sort of there was that big IPA sort of push for a few years, and that's maybe dropped off a little bit for either people getting older or just saving money or whatever. So anyway, but congratulations to Rich and Tracy for another top 5 finish.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's probably Coopers are going to be interesting because while I still think Status Quo is probably going to win, but Cooper's has a lot of fans. It's already had 3 beers in the top 100. It's the original pale ale. You could say maybe Australia's original craft beer. It'll be really interesting to see what happens there because it's an audience we potentially don't talk to as a in the crafty pint. But we'll see how we go. Sorry, just a message. It'll be interesting to see. It's a different audience. I would think people who are voting for Coopers, they would sort of all vote for Cooper's beers kind of alone. You kind of wonder if they're engaging that much with other craft beers or anything like that. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly, I think if you're a Cooper's drinker, you're a Cooper's drinker, tried and true. And they've been around for, what is it now, 400 years? Or what's the 180, 100 and something? A lot of years, guys.
160 plus.
And family owned the entire time. I think we just saw news this week that Dr. Tim is
handing over the reins. Obviously with the business in a pretty good position. I mean, there was one year they didn't even enter the poll not that long ago, but they've actually made a steady gain pretty much every year since they came back in. And I think there's also in the world at the minute a bit of a sort of that leading into nostalgia, people looking into sort of more classic brands, older brands. And people rediscovering the joys to be found in Cooper's Green or Cooper's Red, lovely saison style beers.
We're just trying to get Ben Spoke on the line at the moment, but I'm being told it's being a bit of a push.
Do we think it's time to crack a beer?
Well, you had me at hello. You just
no,
played this earlier.
I'll crack the warm one on the bar.
Oh, don't do that.
I do have to drive home
Richard
anyway.
Richard would have words.
Richard will love seeing this once we get him.
Well, I think, Matt, maybe we can get me a glass at some point, can't you, Matt, so we can share one? No, we cannot do anything else. That is pretty interesting, like to see where Cooper's does land out of them. We're aware that some of Bolter's other beers have fallen away.
Cooper's, I mean, we're going to probably have to talk a lot more about Cooper's in a minute, but I can't think that they would have made a podium before.
No.
So this is a story there in itself. Yeah. And of course, Bolter and Mountain Culture Status Quo still to come potentially. No one really believes me when I say that, but we actually don't have the results. We have no insight into what's going on.
Interestingly, like you and I did used to get full visit. Well, when you were running the poll, we would spend several days back and forth, late nights, actually sort of crunching the numbers, making sure the highest climbers, biggest fallers, just sort of checking our results were actually accurate. And then
that was when we first fell in love, James. And, trading late night, text messages.
I'd be on a camping holiday with my family going, you won't see Dad for 3 days now. The draft results are in. But then obviously, that changed a few years ago. I believe down to sort of gambling concerns, sort of maybe the results had leaked out or what have you.
Yep.
And I do believe, Craig, I don't want to drop you in here there, but it was the year that you turned up for the poll countdown in a Ferrari with mink fur coat on, is that right? And I think diamond studs in both ears. Now, maybe you can't admit it until the statute of limitations has passed, but I do believe that was the issue.
Yeah, look, I mean, how I make my money is my own business, really, James. That's you really built up to that one. That was a long time in the.
I think as we're talking gambling, just sort of remember, if next time you are considering buying a slab of Great Northern Crisp, maybe take a look at this list and realise what you could be buying.
Yeah, that's awful. That is. I
didn't even get that was a joke, let alone get the joke. Very good.
We have just a few shout outs in the comments. Someone saying Ranger absolutely killing it right now. Really big respect to Ranger Mountain Culture for having excellent flagships and pumping out two new beers every single week, which is,
it's intense, right?
It is so hectic, isn't it? Yeah, so many people have slowed down on that front, and they just haven't. I mean, two's an understatement often. They're delivering so much interesting beer all the time. It's a really different business model to what we traditionally know of in terms of craft beer. And I think we might almost be good to cut.
We've got Ed on the cross from Bent Spoke.
Ed, can you hear us?
And
bear with us, team.
we can see him. I'm not sure if you can see him, but he looks great. Like really happy, chuffed, excited.
Yeah,
I think he can hear us now, but we can't hear him.
The wonders of technology, guys. Never do a live podcast, they said.
But however, he might like to know in the comments, Connor Ryan is saying that Crankshaft is probably his favourite beer out of Canberra. So there you go. And someone else voice said Crankshaft deserves number 1, but it's nonetheless impressive that an IPA is in the top 5, which
Yeah, absolutely.
have to agree with that.
And, you know, harnessing that ACT audience as well. I mean, we read through the states before and the kind of overall poll numbers, and I think ACT is absolutely, punching above its weight in terms of population. Of course, you've only really had 2 major breweries. There's been a few other ones over the years, like smaller operations, but it's always been Bent Spoke and Capital. Yeah. And, I don't know if is there a loyalty thing in Canberra? I'm not too familiar with it.
It'd be interesting to see maybe in future years where the Cypher break through. So when we did our Year in Beer podcast, everyone we spoke to in ACT brought up Cypher, how well they've done in embracing bringing the community through the doors of their brew pub. But also they embarked, talking about limited releases, they embarked on a new canned limited release every single week this year. And apparently the quality was through the roof. So it'll be interesting to see if we can get a third Canberra brewer onto the lineup for 2025.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think we should be getting the first of our podium beers in a moment. I don't know if you've had it come through yet, but as I said before, my computer seems to be on a 1-year delay. For the...
Maybe it's still set to Queensland time. Potentially, you're an hour behind.
1 hour and 30 years behind. But we'll announce that as soon as it comes up. What else is happening?
What do you think?
Someone just wanted to shout out Cypher as well, making really delicious beers, but it takes time to get noticed. But for his opinion that they taste better than Capitals, he's very impressed with them.
He said surpassed.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I think they were definitely something. I guess for people living in Canberra, there are some other smaller. Zia Holtz has been there making German-style beers for a long time. There are other smaller breweries around the region, but I think for a lot of people, Capital and Bent Spoke did such a great job of getting into every bottle shop and every bar that I think to have someone like that come along with the wherewithal to do that many limited releases. So there've been a lot of double IPAs, a lot of hazy IPAs, that kind of thing, and sort of provide a third option. The Gabs team is certainly keeping us on tenterhooks here.
Well, it's never too late to review the results, guys.
They hadn't realised 400 Pilsner it's very hard to get in a can. That's what it is, Will.
They're still searching for it.
Well, look, we've got some time to fill.
I feel like we can't crack these cans yet unless they appear on our screen.
Sorry, I do have to say we couldn't get Bent Spoke on the line. We've got a little screen down here where we could see them kind of whispering and so on. But,
all right, it's in.
Oh, wow, okay.
Okay.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. We've got
Bolter XPA number 3. Very, very interesting.
Bolter XPA, previous champion for how many times? Twice? 3 times? Twice.
Yeah.
Back-to-back wins, I think they were, coming in 3rd place. So we will try to get to Bolter on the cross, and we'll just keep talking and filling and doing all the fun things that podcast hosts do.
Well, I was thinking about one of the things we hadn't sort of touched upon. We may touched upon it a little bit, but we haven't gone into sort of great detail. Is sort of looking at how the polls evolved over the years as well. And I think sort of in the very early years we talked about the diversity in the poll, because for those that don't know, it started off as I guess a fun vote for the staff.
And people have been yelling at each other ever since.
It started off as a fun vote for staff and punters at the local tap house in St Kilda. So it really was just the people who were going to one of Melbourne's, I guess, pioneering craft beer venues, and it was probably only really from sort of 2010 onwards. When myself and Matt at Brews News, we sort of joined forces with them to help try and push the poll a bit further. It probably took a while for anyone, some of the other states really want to get on board unless they had beers coming to the East Coast, because it was such a sort of heavily weighted East Coast thing. But I think, if you look back sort of a decade or so, it really was a really good snapshot each year of where the industry was heading in terms of, because there were imperial stouts, there were barrel-aged beers, there were funky sour beers. Like, it was really, you could sort of see who was making waves. And I guess the industry was still pushing outwards in terms of styles as well as into new hands. And I think it really was that sort of snapshot. And I think over time, the success of the poll, in getting more mainstream has meant that sort of has faded. And instead it's become a popularity contest for the most part. And I think just mainly in a positive sense, like a day that people do focus and talk about beer, and a chance for craft beer as a segment to potentially get some mainstream media coverage. And ultimately, if the people are at the top, like, it's a real opportunity to try and get some serious, marketing cut through, as you were saying before, maybe make their conversations with the top dogs at Dan's or BWS or Coles easier. And further down, if you are smaller, just sort of dedicate a bit of time, just try and get a beer in there and have that big party when it comes in, like, with Future Magic and all these people, they get a beer in, it's like, woo, that's cool,
Yeah.
And I think it's sort of, it's become something very different to what it was early on. But again, this year does feel, it's the moving year, it really is. Like, this is,
It's a very interesting top 10. I think people will talk about this for a long time.
There's a lot of change.
Yeah.
If Coopers comes in at number 1, it'll be the first saison at number 1.
Yeah, that's a obscure reference that maybe only Topher Bohm from...
Nick Sandry from Holly Rose, don't worry.
Yeah, okay. Because it's a yeast-forward farmhouse beer or traditional beer.
Yeah.
There you go. What a scoop. Coopers saison. But let's talk about Balter for a second. Obviously, maintaining a position on the podium. Do you think, they've kind of, have they been able to keep that cachet of the brand post, obviously, their sale to CUB?
Well, it's not number 1.
I know.
So,
top 3,
yeah.
There's about 1,400 other breweries that would have killed for that position.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. All the other ones we've moved on the table would have killed for it. But yeah, I think potentially, I think Balter. It's become a very national beer. It always was, even before sale. But that Asahi has really plugged it in, I think, to a lot of places. Like, I'm going
MCG?
the MCG. What's that? No, but I'm going to quiet country pubs and small towns, and you are seeing it on tap. So it is everyone. That's led by the beer's popularity as well. It's out there because they know it will sell.
It's a great beer.
I think of all the brands that CUB or Asahi bought over that 10-year period, this was the one that made the most sense because it already had the sort of, I guess, the most broad appeal branding, and already had an audience that went out beyond, even before the Cerveza came out, had an audience that went out beyond, further than any other indie at the time, I think. Up there with Stone and Wood, their Pacific Ale, and had a reach that probably had already spread beyond their sort of home turf. Be interesting, the 5 years after the sale. The founders have a deal. You stay on for 5 years after the sale goes through. That finished at the end of last year. I believe some of the founders and staff have already left or maybe leaving. Whether that will change anything, I guess the culture is going to be pretty strong, and so potentially it won't make any difference. But that's something that we have already been thinking. I'll be interested to see how it goes this year. We were expecting very much the same. But thinking 2025, how will it go? Because, we've seen with Stone and Wood dropping out the top 10 after being at 8 last year. Feral disappeared completely for a while after, went to Coca-Cola. I think that's going to be pretty
It's a really interesting point because you kind of, you look at the history of the Balter brand and it was, there were, a number of very high-profile surfers as owners and they were quite active in the business. I think we're trying to get Sterling Howland on the line, who brand director, and I think he's just done...
And Elvis impersonator.
And my professional crush.
There he is.
There you have it first here. And obviously Scotty Hargrave as the head brewer. They are personalities, and we look like we've got Sterling on the line now, who really have been so instrumental.
Hey, we got him. Hey, you look very confused, Stels.
Yeah, I turned 46, and now I don't know how to use technology anymore. So,
well, congratulations, because you're one of the first live crossers who actually has got the sound working. So well done. I know, nailing it. Sterling,
Yeah.
top three, still on the podium. A slight drop down from second last year. How are you feeling, mate?
Man, look, we're pumped. Like, hang on, let me show you what's going on.
Oh,
Got
look
a
at
full
that.
house here. We've got a little beer garden. We just did our traditional little photo where they all pile in. The beer garden's full, the brewery's full, everyone's happy. Man, look, we're just happy to be on there. I think that's 8 now, and we're just stoked. They're just pretty easy to make happy, actually. So we're pumped.
Congratulations, mate. We were just sort of having a conversation about the brand and discussing, you know, the change of ownership and obviously, you know, how has that whole experience been for you? And do you feel like you're in good position moving forward?
Man, yeah, we are. Like, look, when we sold in 2019, you know, I had a bit of a bee in my bonnet. I wanted to prove that selling didn't mean you became irrelevant, and our whole business rallied behind that. And, you know, we've seen that little smile go from strength to strength and become a beer that's loved nationally. I'm drinking it right now, and I'm really proud of the quality that we're still dishing up. And, you know, all strength to Asahi. They allowed us to continue to run our business and continue to do what we did every day before that sale. So the fact that we still showed up on the podium, you know, is a good feeling. I think traditionally you just slide out the back end and, quite unceremoniously, you know, and the fact that we're still up on that podium is a really wonderful feeling. And, yeah, we're all pretty cool, really.
Yeah, well, and you guys have kept doing some pretty cool collaborations with local breweries and international breweries. I know Mick, who's one of our writers based in Brisbane. I think the last 2 years, when we've asked him for his favourite beer of the year, it's been one of Scotty's West Coast Pilsners. And so, you know...
so good.
And I know there's been this sort of focus on the Cerveza, and the XPA is just a beer that's everywhere. But that's certainly been something, I guess, all the beers that have come out, you know, the more malty pale ale you did this year with the hop farm in the States, is that something that you fought to sort of, you know, maintain as part of the Balter story?
Yeah, and you know what, we didn't even have to fight. We just wanted to keep doing what we did every day, and just make beers that we're going to drink. We're not going to dish up anything we never want to drink ourselves, just to grab a headline or to do the thing. And so those beers are just a reflection of what's in the fridge, I guess, and what we really love drinking. And when Scotty teamed up with a hop farm and put forward this really hoppy beer that was still very malt driven, and that P&W Pale Ale, I just love that shit because we just love drinking those types of beers, you know. And, you know, yeah, Cerveza and XPA get all the limelight, I guess, but, you know, we've got a taproom wall here that's got 20 beers on it, and they are all shades and colours and styles, and that's good beer, right? Yeah. Just meeting palates where palates are at.
Yeah. And what are your plans for 2025 then? Obviously, you know, the 5 years after the sale are through, you know, is that going to make a big change, or do you think it's going to be sort of, you know, much more of the same into the future?
I'd like to think that it'll be much more of the same in the future. Look, we just recently internally at Asahi won what they call the Kando Awards. And the Kando Awards are a recognition of every business they own globally. And Balter took out the Grand Prix in that as their number one brand globally on a bunch of different metrics, from brand excellence to sales to revenue to profitability to all these different things. And what's happened in the last 5 years is Balter's still a founder-led business. And I think they see the formula. And I don't think it's ever been done before when a business has been acquired like that. And they've really taken note of our strengths. And I think they've really jotted those down in the folklore of how this business operates at its best. And I'd love to think they're going to continue to preserve those things.
Love to get some comment for you here, Sterling. So we've had actually the number 2 beer has just dropped, which means we likely know what the number 1 is.
So Cooper's at number 2.
Cooper's in at number 2 with the Cooper's Green. What do you reckon?
Fucking hell, hey? That's for a campaign. Indie beer's still well and alive.
Yeah, no, we've been watching that sort of creep up the table in front of us, and so we were sort of thinking, is it going to land at number one? So unless it is Foreigner Pilsner, it's going to be Mountain Culture Status Quo again. I know they're good friends of yours, like you've made some beers with them, but Cooper's at number two. What do you make of that?
Man, look, 150 years, you know, they've stood the test of time. They're a legacy brewery in this country. They are a star up in the sky to great beer. They've always done great beer. That's their legacy. They don't go outside of their wheelhouse. They stay in this lane and they know what they're good at, and mate, all power to them. You know, they love this Hottest 100 and they've been trying for years to jump on that podium. I don't think they've been on there before. And look, that's an amazing testament. I reckon they'll be fucking hooting and hollering down in South Australia, that's for sure.
I have to say, Sterls, I don't think I had Coopers and Mountain Culture battling it out for number one this year. That was not on my bingo card.
I just rolled over in my grave and just gave it to Mountain Culture. That was what it's just like, Mountain Culture going to win? What will we all get after that?
Yeah.
Well done. And look, what was really cool, could I just say, is I saw so many beers on debut today. I saw so many beers just climbing up those rankings. It was absolutely beautiful to see new beers in there, to see beers reclimbing and regaining their status. I honestly think the Hottest 100 should be a celebration of the new beers in Australia. So this goes out to Mike and the Gabs crew. Like, let's shake shit up. You know, there's all this doom and gloom around the craft beer industry. There's all this down talk, but it doesn't have to be like that. There's so much great beer being brewed in this country, and if we celebrated new beer in this country, we're going to rise the tide of this whole program, and we'll get rid of the fatigue and any attitude people may have, and it'll give new beer an opportunity just to rise to the top. And so, can I leave it with one thing? Like, let the Hottest 100 be the hottest 100 new beers next year.
Yeah, but Sterls, Coopers are so close. Come on.
Look, I'm really sorry, Coopers. Oh, maybe if we give them one more year, they get number one, and then we can all decide that let's go new beers. Let's make this reinvigorating. I'd hate to be thinking that I'm listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers from 1995 on the Triple J's Hottest 100. And look, I say that from a point of view, as we've won this, we've been on the podium for 8 years. I'm sick of seeing us up there. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm tired of that. And I'm really happy for Mountain Culture, by the way, because I love DJ and Harriet. But it's a catch-22, but let's go new beers. They'll probably win that too, but it's like, let's get behind new beer and let's celebrate the craft beer industry evolving, pushing forward, doing great new things.
Awesome, Sterls. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
mate. We're
Sterls.
so really happy for you guys, and congratulations to you and the entire team at Bolter. Well done.
Amazing. And hey, that set you're on is so fancy.
I know. How good is it?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I don't want to go off, but I know you needed me to get off. But
I love it.
Great to chat. Enjoy the rest of the day, mate. See you
Thanks
soon.
so much,
Yeah,
mate.
we will.
So there you go, Sterling Howland from Bolter. We've whilst we were chatting with Sterls, we've had Coopers drop at number 2, which means we pretty much know who the winner's gonna be, barring
Foreigner Pilsner.
Still a chance. You never know.
Mathematically, you can't say
look,
it's not.
It could be an act of God. I don't know what might come through, but I mean, like Sterling said, an amazing result for Coopers. They have been moving. They've been active. They've been really re-engaging with the Hottest 100 over the last probably 5 or 6 years. We seem to still be showing Sterling, and you know, a great effort from them. Cooper Sparkling is such an iconic Australian beer, and to see it right up there, number 2. Battling it out with Mountain Culture Status Quo for the number 1. Who knows? Coopers maybe next year.
The rivalry you never thought would happen.
The rivalry no one expected.
It is.
Guys, are we all going to be? Can we actually?
Yeah, let's crack a Status Quo, hey?
Oh, I'm feeling it. I'm thirsty. Cool. It's been. Are we in 2 hours now? Is our longest
two
podcast
and
ever?
a bit.
Congratulations, well
Cheers.
done.
Is it
Remember, we're still streaming.
So it surpasses even our conversation with Jade at the Wheatie last year.
Yeah.
So, Jade, you have to try harder when we do our next interview with her. But
Look, we've got one more beer to announce. It comes out in a couple of minutes. We all know who it's going to be, but we will try and keep the mystery alive. And
I'm definitely not making the keys at 7 o'clock now with Coopers at number 2.
We'll keep
Jesus.
the mystery alive, and we will also try to get Mountain Culture on the line to see how they're doing. They, I think, were celebrating. They've got events at all 3 of their venues now. We've got Katoomba, Emu Plains, and
Redfern,
the new venue in Sydney. So I can imagine it's already going off over there.
Awesome comment on YouTube. Sitting here in Malaysia, listening to the hottest 100 music in one ear and the Gabs hottest 100 in the other, drinking a Cooper's Pale Ale. Life doesn't get better than that. How good.
That's a real identity crisis going on there, isn't it? Drinking a Cooper's.
So I wish I could tune in.
That's a great comment. I think that's the free membership right there. That's, paints a visual picture.
Oh, someone was saying, Daniel, our stats man, saying, take a look at the new beers list. Even a rusted-on beer nerd like me only recognises half of them.
No, and it's a great point that Sterling makes, and that is also another point of discussion that comes up again and again and again around, should it be just the new beers? Should it be just the indies? And, of course, it's the comparison is with the Triple J Hottest 100, which is all new music. I think maybe there is a time and that these things should be revisited.
Maybe we just do 2 polls back-to-back, different days,
Well, like the Double J do one the day afterwards now. Something like that would be fun, but
the nostalgia
we wouldn't
show.
be able to host them both.
We wouldn't? Come on, we can do it. Can Matt have a beer? Matt can have a beer.
Are we bringing Matt up?
Matty Hoffman, our
Here he is.
erstwhile producer.
Hey. Here's the man who's made the magic happen. He's responsible for all the graphics behind here. He's responsible.
We are at 5 o'clock. Do we have
So,
an official?
Every time you've seen us looking off the camera going...
It's because Matt's telling us stop.
Matt's saying, can you stop James talking for a second?
Honestly, James wouldn't be able to turn a light on without him.
Look, I think we're waiting on an announcement. It's gone 5. I don't know. Can we get Mount Culture on the line?
They're keen to chat once, but we've got to wait for it to be announced.
Yep.
So yeah, exciting.
Gotcha.
Oh, so we might cut to an ad?
We might cut to an ad. Let's do that.
At First Choice Liquor Market, we offer more choice, with over 1,000 wines in every store.
Over 70 boutique and international gins.
More than 50 single malts.
And over 140 craft beers.
Our team of experts are your first choice for friendly advice.
And we're great value with low prices across the store and online. That's why
we're your first choice.
First Choice Liquor Market.
Rich, compelling from First Choice there. Funnily enough, we're now at the first choice point of the poll. Do you
What a segue.
See what I did there? That's right, I do this for a living, folks. Will, any other awesome comments coming in from the chat?
Interesting point from Felicity James Williams. What about beers that are less than 5 years old? So after a certain time, you sort of say, no, you've had your run, so it gives more coverage to beers. So there's a bit of automatic renewal.
So it could be the hottest 100 beers of 2019 to 2024.
I'm worried that we're going to give Gabs all these ideas and Mike's just going to run with them.
It's just a bit of a mouthful.
It'll be hectic as. So I think we've got the official word.
So we've had the
is it Foreigner
beer.
Pills?
It's not Foreigner Pills.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm so
right.
sorry.
No, that'd be
we do
devastating
have
over
Mountain Culture, Status Quo, Pale. Congratulations, number 1 in the Gabs Hottest 100 Aussie Craft Beers of 2024.
Only the second ever three-peat after Feral Hop Hog.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
right. Which
we
sort
had-
of broke up Pacific Ale's reign, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's right in the middle there.
That's pretty amazing. Feral Hop Hog was, if I'm right, 2012, 13 and 14, I think. You're meant to be
Daniel
this
Moss.
encyclopedic knowledge. That's the only triple threat on
up until now.
3-peat until now.
Yeah.
Mountain Culture also...
Debuted at number 1.
You're stealing my stats. I was going to say these.
Well, you know.
I know. It's all over now. Debuted at number 1. Mountain Culture came in, obviously, 2020. I'll get this right. 22. Straight in at number 1. The only beer to have done that we mentioned since Vale Ale. And, of course, the very first poll, which was Little Creatures Pale. number one, and the third number one in a row. So an amazing result for the team at Mountain Culture.
Who I believe are about to
Got
join
them on
us.
now. We're just confirming whether they can hear us or not. Mountain Culture, Team Mountain Culture, can you hear us?
Oh, now they're
Oh, now they're frozen. Really,
They've frozen. We might be all right, but I reckon we'll get them back.
Surely there's going to be some beer being thrown over people at some stage.
I hope
there normally
so.
is.
So we've got DJ and it looks like Harriet there, and they look pretty excited. They're basically frozen in a.
While we have had a messing with Matt at range, just saying vibes are very high at range. Unsurprisingly, with $6 pints. I did say maybe make sure there's lots of water on the tables.
Good call. I can imagine it's going off across a lot of places around the country at the moment. From
for sure.
Your mates, where we just were a little while ago, through to South Australia, Coopers, Bolter. We obviously saw that as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get the MC.
Some issues at their end.
Well, I think
Katoomba is one of the world's great, beautiful small cities, but small towns. But
very small in the
I just added about 100,000 people to its population, but maybe the Wi-Fi isn't that great. That's okay.
Yeah. No, well, and I think just sort of recapping before we do get them on for a chat, I know, we're doing this for the first time, so, it might be reason to sort of hype it up, but this really has been the most fascinating poll in a long, long time. I think, there was the excitement that was generated when Mountain Culture shot to number 1 2 years ago. Was a sort of bit of an injection of fresh interest, I think, in the Hottest 100. And I think people, a lot of the regular complaints about it, yes, we've looked at it now, it's, most of it is pale ales, of some form, from non-alc through to double IPAs and lagers. But, we're jamming at number 10, Cooper's at number 2, Reckless up there, and Dangerous Ales. All these.
Someone really wanted to shout out Seeker as well in the comments. Like breweries like that are actually tiny and jumping up, as Sterling said too.
Yeah.
This beer is really tasty.
I wonder how it won.
Right, it's really got something, You're
not going to criticise all those voters out there that
no, I think you got it right. I think you got it right this time. We could. I think they got it well. Just still waiting to see if we can get them on the line, but in the meantime, I think this has been an amazing journey. There's this podcast as well, and kind of. Obviously, in previous years...
I think in 2 days' time, it's our 6-month anniversary of the podcast.
Well, there you go. 6 months and we're already on TV.
Yeah.
We're making it, guys. This is it.
Do you reckon we can get this screen in the back of my
it's pretty
wagon
cool.
to get it home? I'll have to extend the front of our house, but, I reckon it'd be pretty cool just to add this to the weekly show.
No, very cool. Well, while we're waiting for Mountain Culture to come on board, I do want to thank everyone for watching us through the podcast here. All the viewers, all the countdown events, all the venues, everyone around the country tuning in and enjoying a craft beer. You saw Matt earlier, our producer. We just couldn't do this without him. And of course,
here we go.
Oh, hey, they may have upgraded their NBN just for this chat. Hey, can you hear us? DJ, can you hear us? And Harriet?
DJ, you there? Can you hear us?
They must need to enable...
Hi,
hey guys, we can't hear you.
No, they can't hear. Try switching it off and then on again.
Or hitting the side of the box.
Yeah.
I literally can't hear them.
We'll get it. We can hear
you.
you.
Should be able to hear them through this.
All right.
Well, it'll be.
Do you guys just want to give us a call on mobile?
We could do. Should we try that?
You want to try DJ?
Yeah. Put him on speaker.
See if we can make this work.
I don't know if we're probably...
Do we want it on speakerphone for that?
Yeah, put it on speaker and we'll see if that'll mess with Matt's mind. Sorry, Matt.
DJ.
Oh, it's DJ.
We got you. Oh, actually, we don't. Do we need him on here as well, though?
Yes.
Okay, we need you on there. It's going to cause issues. Congratulations, mate. How you going?
We are doing
very well. Jesus, that was a stressful countdown, but here we are. I'm covered in beer again, and I had a few status quos on the way there for good luck, and gosh, the team is all going wild. So we're very excited.
We're just upset that the screen had frozen when the annual beer soaking took place. So if you did get video footage, please tag us and we'll have to share it.
I'm sure there'll be be plenty of that footage. I'm sure there'll be plenty of that footage. Yeah, it was like, again, every year we've never expected to end up here. Every year has just been as stressful as the last. And also as big of a surprise as the last. So we're just so grateful to that everybody's been drinking the beer and loving it again this year. And oh man, I think we're in for a big night.
No, as you should be. I have to say, when it came down to Coopers, you're like, is this gonna be, is this gonna be like the biggest twist yet? The Coopers might take it, but no, and I guess it wasn't. But it certainly helped probably build the stress at your end and build the excitement at our end.
I was nervous for them.
It was just incredible to see like a lot of new people in that top 10, like a lot of awesome indie beer in that top 10. So like, yeah, we were like, I don't know, more pumped up this year than I think any year we've been in it. To like see it roll out, it was definitely it was quite the countdown, that's for sure.
Well, it's time to go and dig a hole.
Exactly. I know. I feel like I need to dig a hole and hide in it for a minute.
No. Well, congratulations to you guys and the whole team. Like, it was a real fun campaign. Loved the video in the courtroom with Pat there. Taking the lead as your lawyer was hilarious. Looking forward to seeing what you guys do next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've got a lot in store for next year. Like, it's been an incredible journey the last couple of years, and I feel like every year turning over the new year, I'm more and more excited about being in the industry. I'm more and more excited about what we have coming up. It's definitely going to be a wild and crazy year, that's for sure.
For sure. Any questions from you guys?
DJ, I don't know if you heard earlier, but we were saying you're the first brewery to claim the three-peat since Ferrell's Hop Hog in the Hottest 100. So it's a pretty amazing achievement. How do you feel?
Like I said, we were not expecting to get up there again. Like, every year it's just been have fun with the campaign, do some fun, engaging stuff that we have a good time with, push the beer forward that we feel like represents mountain culture the most, and I don't know, see what the hell happens.
Yes, we got what we were waiting for.
Hey!
Nice shot.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Well,
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Now,
I didn't shower before.
I don't know if you heard, but Range are doing $6 pints of their disco because it came in at number 6. Are you doing $1 pints of Status Quo for the rest of the day?
Look, I'm not really sure what the liquor license is. I would say it's probably a little bit more generous than that.
Nice. No, well, great to chat. I'm sure you guys want to get back to the party. Congratulations to you and Harry and the crew. Awesome work. I look forward to catching you guys in person soon.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. It's been an amazing year. Thank you for all the support from everybody who voted in the campaign, that participated in it. We had so much fun with it, and we're just really so grateful for the ride that we're on, and that people still love Status Quo. So really appreciate it to everybody who took the time to vote, and we'll hopefully get to party with some of you guys soon.
For sure. All right. Cheers, guys. Enjoy the rest of the night. I'm sure you will.
See you guys.
Thanks, DJ. Nice one. And guys, that brings us to a close. We have been the Crafty Pint podcast team. We're super excited to have brought this to you. Congratulations to Mountain Culture, to all of the breweries who appeared in today's list, and everyone who got behind that brewery, who voted, who supported them, who drank their beer, and took the minute or two to cast a vote. Well done. Big thanks to Matty Hoffman, our producer, to Daniel Reed on the stats line, to Stupid Old Studios here in Brunswick, who have been incredible.
Bloody legends, yeah.
As you could probably tell, there was a lot of curveballs, particularly in that last half hour, and fuck, they did a good job.
There we go, that's Swear Jar number 3 for the night. And the last person to swear gets to buy the first round at the after party. Guys, do subscribe to the Crafty Pint podcast. We're out every Thursday, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, right here on YouTube. We're telling the stories and the people who are shaping craft beer. Get behind it. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, Craig.
Cheers.
You will. Woo.